This feels weird to say, but I hope everyone had a good Christmas.
Is this going to come out before Christmas?
This will come out after Christmas,
Will
won't
it come out before Christmas? Who knows? That'd be a really bad start to the episode, wouldn't it? We definitely know how much we're going to be. So this one will come on the 8th. This will come out... When did we release last? The 1st?
Yes.
So then the 15th and the 29th. Yes, it
The
will.
29th.
We hope you all had a
There
nice
you go.
Christmas.
I am
There you
on
go.
it.
That's it. I'll be another whole year older by the time that this actually goes out.
I was hoping the Christmas tree would be out.
Sorry. I feel like I was about to say that's how I was going to start the episode, with the wrong way round. It's the only time of year, unless we have an in-person guest, that we change things around. Because normally the Christmas tree is pretty much where the main cam is.
It is, yeah.
But it hasn't happened yet. We're recording on a Wednesday and it's going out this weekend.
It doesn't feel very Christmassy because it is literally only the 3rd of December.
And it's the sunniest day as well.
It's a sunny day, yeah.
Like if you'd come yesterday, you'd have had like soft like ASMR rain music in the background for how miserable it was here. I don't know, Max might make an appearance in a minute and he might add some sound effects to it. But yeah, it feels like the least Christmassy end of year review episode, doesn't it?
There's a tiny Christmas tree in the background, I've just noticed.
There is, if you
I'm
squint
not sure
hard
if that's
enough, if the sun's not blowing it out on the camera. Anyway, that's it. I feel like we've absolutely waffled to start this.
Yeah.
We are here.
As usual.
It's our last episode of 2025. And so it's our end of year review.
Yeah, we've done one of these for the last 2 years. So we've done 2 so far. And I really think they help both of us.
Yeah.
Like summarise our year. It gives us an opportunity to look back, see how we also, because we record them every year, see how we felt last year and how that changes to this year. I know the first time we done it, we came in and our end of year review was like surprisingly negative. And we just it seemed like a really downer of an episode, but we needed that because when it came to doing the second one last year, like there were positives to take away from it. And like we could see actual improvements in the things that we were down about. And yeah, like we're massive advocates for looking back at what you've done and then looking forward into the next year, aren't we? So.
I feel, and I say it every year, that I feel that genuinely this year has flown by quicker than any other year in recent memory.
Yeah.
That I think it is nice to stop and look back, and particularly in the job that we're doing, is you kind of, you shoot, you edit, you deliver, you move on, and that kind of happens, rinse and repeat really quite quickly.
Yeah.
And it's not until you actually stop and look back over the past 12 months and go, oh, that happened, didn't it? Or, oh, actually we did that, or maybe I was really proud of that in the moment, and you don't really get a chance to kind of dwell on the good things and the bad, because it's always just on to the next thing.
Exactly,
and now hopefully that we are here, stood at the end of the year, looking back over the 12 months as a whole, it's quite a nice period to reflect. And, we obviously are very lucky that we have a public platform to do this, but I encourage all of you to do the same at home, is once hopefully you've listened to our episode, go through kind of the structure that we've gone through and give yourself kind of an end of year review. You don't have to record it, you can if you want to, so you've got something to look back on, or even just write it down in the back of a journal or a notebook. But I think definitely to kind of sit there and sum up your year, talk about the highs, talk about the lows, and make some goals for next year, I think it's a really, really useful thing to do. So if, listen to ours, and hopefully that'll give you encouragement to do the same thing for yourself.
Yeah. And I bang this drum a lot, but I do have like a little notepad that I put in my goals for the year, what I achieved last year, what could be better from last year, that kind of thing. And this is just sort of an extension of that for me. And again, we're doing it in December, but realistically, when it comes to me doing a deep dive into my business, I always joke that the end of my year is whenever the last edit's done from that year. So usually I don't get around to doing my goals for the year until March, April.
Wow.
Because that's generally when I finish my edits from November, December. So while I'm talking about the year now, I've still got a lot of editing to do, and there will be some stuff probably at the end of all that editing that I add to my goals for next year and things like that.
Yeah, because I think there's still a degree of learning, isn't there? As you go through those edits, it feels kind of odd that we're sat here, despite on a sunny day in winter, when you're probably still editing summer weddings. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to kind of move your head on, isn't it, in that kind of, to have headspace to be thinking about end of year when you're still editing weddings from like July or August.
Yeah,
is
exactly.
That kind of the right
It's a weird headspace. So we talked about this last year, I think, where like it's winter and we like everyone's talking about Christmas, but I'm editing weddings from midsummer when it's like warm and people are outside.
Which is wild, isn't it? Like I find it really odd to be sat in when it's really rainy and looking at summer things. But luckily now, I'm at a space where I'm caught up. As this goes out, hopefully, I should have one wedding left on my pile, which is the wedding that I shot in December. Yeah. Which is how I'm actually shooting it this weekend.
That's really good.
At the moment, I've got 2 left to do.
Yeah.
until I shoot that one.
You're going to have a cracking start to the year next year then.
That's the plan, but then I have a wedding the 15th or 16th of January, which I didn't have last year. Obviously this year, my weddings didn't start till March, and then I only had like one in March, one in April, so it was a real slow start to the year, where this year I do have a wedding in January, which I think is going to make things feel a little bit different, but at the same time it might push me in those first couple of weeks of the year to really kind of scrub the decks, get my house in order, and kind of getting things ready to go again.
There's always that like flow, isn't there, when you get back to your first wedding of the year and you're like, what am I doing? And it takes you a little bit to get into it. If you have a couple of those in January, February, you won't get that as much because you'll have some of that. And also I find January weddings are quite difficult, and February weddings quite difficult because you haven't got the light and you haven't got the festivities of a December wedding. Definitely. So I feel like there's definitely, obviously it depends on the couple and the vibe and that kind of thing, but it is, you're trying to lean into something.
Definitely, I think that's definitely true. Of anything, I think sometimes January weddings could be tougher, like you say, than that, because Christmas, everyone's gearing up to something, and that's like a celebration on the build to Christmas, seeing family doing those things. But then in January it does feel, and the weather's normally harsher. I found winters in the UK particularly are normally worse in January and February than they are in then, which is normally why I avoid shooting weddings at that time of year. But this couple came on. It's at a venue that I know I really like. It's also a cathedral that I've never shot at in Portsmouth. I've driven past it hundreds of times. So the curiosity of going into that building is there. And also, I'm not going to lie, like in the days before I pay my tax bill, to get some sort of income in January,
it's nice.
It's really nice. You guys listen to the self-employment episode that came out hopefully 2 weeks ago before this, if recording goes to plan today, is you know that I don't do those 6 monthly payments that you do. So really, I kind of, I've got the payment from the wedding I'm about to shoot in December, and then there'd be nothing for me for a long time
until the season starts.
To roll in. So to have that little kind of boost of income in January is nice.
Yeah, 100%. But it has just been Black Friday as well. And I think the last 2 episodes we've spoken about what we ordered in Black Friday. So again, like you're listening to this at the end of December, so it probably won't make any sense to you, but we always love a bit of gear talk and tech talk here. So I personally have had a really bad Black Friday and not actually bought anything.
So maybe that's a good thing. Unlike it for you.
Yeah, I know.
Normally, like you love a tech purchase, or Black Friday's a good time to kind of get that thing you've had your eye on, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been searching, but honestly, like I don't need anything. And there are a couple of things that I'm like, I could have that, but it just hasn't come around to it. So I'm actually really proud of myself for not doing it. I bought Adobe again for the year because it always goes down cheap on Amazon, and we get the student one as well because my wife works at university.
Even better.
So it's like £150 for the year.
That's really good.
That's
the full package. Yeah, that's really good.
So I do that every Black Friday. I buy the code and then renew it in June or whenever it comes up. So I got that, and that's pretty much it. But you got a film scanner, didn't you?
I did, yeah. So normally, again, I think this year, and we'll go into it as to go through the year through, it has been a quiet year for kit purchases for me this year. I know, I think in that must have been that very first one, or even the last one, it was the year that I broke all my A7 IIIs. So I had to replace those. And then last year, I feel kind of like new laptop and stuff. There was quite a few, I bought the 1.4 last, so I had gear purchases. But looking back over this year, apart from that tiny, teeny little pop-up, the little flash for the top of your camera, I don't really think I've bought very much camera kit at all.
Yeah, we've both been really boring.
I've spent a lot of money on film, but not in terms of buying kit really that much at all. So I think obviously again winding into the winter, it's been on my mind for a while that I want to start scanning my own film. Again, I've bought a lot of it, I've shot a lot of it this year, and on the whole I will say, like, shout out to the Film Safe in Southampton. I've been really pleased with the developing and the scanning that they've done for me, but obviously when you've put 60-70 rolls of film for a lab this year, that comes at a cost, and particularly when I'm paying for them to do the highest res scans for me, the money per film roll does start to creep up. So I've always had a view that I wanted to scan my own film. When I originally used to shoot film back in the day, I used to have a flatbed that used to have a little light in the top so you could scan negatives in that. And that worked okay, but it broke and kind of fell by the wayside. So after a bunch of research, I've realised, or the way that I kind of want to go in terms of balance of cost, portability and the rest of it, is to go for like a DSLR scanning setup. So essentially you get a macro lens and this kind of like tube that fits over it, and with a carrier for your negatives and a light behind.
Oh, that's cool.
And you take raw photos of your negatives, then you can get a plug-in which flips them to a positive image. And then obviously do it that way. So that's kind of where I was looking, and I'd settled on that I wanted the Valoi system. That's kind of a system, you can look it up, VALOI. I'll link it in the things below if anybody's kind of wants to scan their own film. And they do one for 35mm called the Easy 35, and then the Easy 120 for medium format. So I had to buy the medium format one because I shoot both, and then you can buy like a little insert that goes in, so it takes 35mm film. So that arrived. I also had to get a macro lens because I don't have one, so that you can focus close enough to get the full use of the sensor and the rest of it. And that was kind of the harder purchase to kind of, I could buy the Sony one, but it's like 500
quid. I need this?
Essentially to that. So in the end, I settled on the TT Artisan 40mm.
Yeah.
It's manual focus only. It's one of those things where you put it on your camera, it doesn't think there's a lens on there, so you have to set the aperture on the lens.
Yeah.
But literally, it's going to stay bolted to the scanning setup and never be used really for camera work. So that was in Black Friday, so I got that for £100, and then obviously the setup,
£100,
which the van has literally pulled up. If you saw at the start of the episode, me looking over the cameras, I think that the scanning setup has just arrived today, and it's sat in my porch currently. So yeah, that's arrived, and I'm sure I'll report back in future episodes into New Year once I've got it set up and running.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got that for a good deal until they slapped me with import fees on it from Finland, which I found out this morning didn't make it such a good deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got that, and I'm really happy with it. I'm happy that I got it, and I'm hoping that that's going to give me something in those early months of next year to kind of really get a good workflow going of getting them to develop my film, sending it in, me scanning it, and then kind of really being able to put my own stamp and look on my
So is that
film
going to save you a bit of money?
Yes.
Down the line?
Going forward, it means now that I will only have to pay the film safe to develop my film, or I think more likely what I'm going to do is get them to scan it, but at like the lowest res scan, just so I've got some peace of mind before it comes back to me that yes, there are images on it, and I can kind of see it and have a bit of a preview, but then go into doing my own high res scans to deliver to my couples.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So then they will have, essentially, if I'm going to take raw images of the negatives, they should end up with files then as big as the digitals that they get, but of the film images. So it's exciting.
Nice.
I'm excited. Again, it's always nice to kind of I feel it's the next step after kind of doing the film this year to kind of have that level of control over those images as well. Just to be able to kind of tweak and kind of pull them around. I'm excited to.
I guess if you've got the raw image of the negatives, can you then push it and pull it a bit more?
A bit more so, because that's the only thing that I've found with the film safe their stuff back is they've been really good overall, but at certain times where the skies have gone, they've kind of blown them out, and I can tell by looking at the negative on a loop and a thing that there is detail in the sky. They've not included it, so I can be able to pull the negative and sort of give myself a more complete image in the same way that so it sits alongside my digital work kind of more consistently, or I'm getting the full use of the data or the image that's been captured on that frame.
It's really cool. It's cool that we're able to do this kind of stuff. Like for every bit that we say, like I've just said, we've had a really boring year in terms of purchases. All I've bought is microphones this year. That's it. And
I guess you went to the tiny little
the little Hollyland Lark Max 2s that everyone's using. They're so good. They're definitely the new TX. But yeah, and it's just nice that we're sort of buying stuff that's a bit more fun. Like I've obviously bought that camcorder as well. You bought your film camera.
I forgot
and
about
those things that we're
like
leaning into are just like
I think it's probably like those the purchases a lot of time do reflect the tone of our year as well. If you look over that other year where kind of again I broke cameras, it was kind of like, okay, I'm stepping up onto like new cameras because that those needed changing, but I wanted to kind of them to take their last breath. You had a year where you experimented and bought like 3 different sets of lights, didn't you, to kind of get smaller ones, lighter ones, upgrading stuff because you had the destination wedding, so you needed kit to move on that. Where I feel like this year it's very much been, okay, we're good pretty much. Like the kits we've got work for how we shoot. And now we're just kind of like embellishing it with like fun
Can we have
things.
any fun with it? Yeah.
Or I think also things that kind of speak to us as well, or things that make the job more fun. That's probably a really good way of kind of leaving it. But yeah, in terms of Black Friday, apart from that, just the boring stuff again. Like it's become alarmingly apparent as the years have gone on that I pretty much only take on new pieces of software or subscriptions around Black Friday. So look, my PicTime renewed, my Studio Ninja renewed, something else all came up because it was like, oh, do you want the Black Friday deal? And so those kind of things.
I've also signed up to Widola because they were doing a 3-month.
Oh, did you?
So Widola is obviously the CRM by Russell Kent Nichols, and I have been looking at it for a while. I signed up to their 14-day trial just as my baby was born, so I never actually got to use the trial. But there were some things that were missing that I needed. That's some things that I'm used to from my Studio Ninja workflow, like sending out a proposal and it automatically generating the contract and invoice. I don't think that was quite there. He's added all this stuff. And there was an offer in November. He might still have it on now. I'm not sure because obviously don't know how long it will last. But where he was doing, if you sign up now, then you get 3 months for free. And you lock in that £9 a month price,
which is the price that it was at launch, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I know that I've heard him on other podcasts talk about it, saying that I don't think he realised how popular Redola would be, or also then to commit that if you are one of those kind of introductory members, that you will only ever pay that forever.
Yeah,
I think that's maybe not a smart business move, but it's great for us as a consumer that you can get onto them. And also how responsive that he's been in adding changes. That, you know, I always liked, one of the things that I liked about Studio Ninja is that they always seem to be adding things, but I don't feel that level of them adding the features that have been promised have come at the rate of knots that I kind of hoped them to be in. Yeah. Like, I feel like I've been with them since 2021 now. I made the journey over when I had time during COVID to kind of onboard everything. Yeah. And they've been promising me for, I reckon, 3 years now that text, SMS text you'll be able to send in-app, and it still hasn't come. Yeah. Does Redola do it?
Not sure. I think so. I have to confirm that.
That could be. I know I'm going to sign up for another year, but that would be the thing. If I was able to kind of send, like, not only an email to a client in a workflow, but I could add kind of WhatsApp touch points in there as well.
I'll have to check this when I get back, but I was chatting to him about putting WhatsApps in, like automated WhatsApps, and I think that's a little bit more difficult. So I think text has been integrated instead, which is good enough, I think. Yeah. But yeah, so locking in that price, which is about half the price of Studio Ninja per year, it was worth it for me. I am not going to start using it yet, just because at the moment you can't split payments into two. Okay. So it's like, at the moment it's a deposit and a full payment. You can't do.
That's the most it'll let you do. You can't add in.
I can't add my 6 months before payment yet. Okay. Which is obviously quite big for me. I'm going to try and find a workaround. But the important thing for me was I've signed up. I've got it at that price. I support everything that he's doing, and like you say, it's going so quickly that I genuinely believe all these features will be in it by the time I sort of get around to move everything over.
Year.
And exactly.
It'd be quite a nice thing to kind of add. And I definitely looked at the notes from last year's end of year review pod when I started to kind of look at did I hit the goals that I set and stuff like that. So it'll be quite nice to know that when we maybe dive back into this in a year's time, you may have left Studio Ninja behind and will be a fully fledged.
It's not like there's that much wrong with it. It's just when you see somebody, again, I want to support Russell because he's a cool guy, and like he's clearly doing this just as much for all of us as he is for himself. Yeah. Because there's so much changes happening every single week, and I feel like there's going to come a point where there's more functionality in that than a Studio Ninja, even though I've been with them for 5 years and nothing seems to have changed. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing
in the kind of really boring time, it's a CRM. The reason that we sign up and pay our money to it is, one, so it runs our businesses smoothly and efficiently, but also saves us time. Yeah. And so you need something which in the end is going to, if someone can do you as good a job or a better job at half the price, it's a stone cold business decision, isn't it? It's not like a fluffy thing about like me going, I'm skinting myself shooting film, but the reward is there. Yeah. A CRM is pretty black and white, isn't it? Yeah. Does it work? Does it not? Is it cheaper? Yes, no. And
save £100, it works just as well. Job done. Yeah,
no brainer, isn't it? For sure. Yeah. And then obviously the fact that that Russell is one of us, if you like, that kind of is the cherry on the cake, isn't it?
Yeah. So let's get into our year in review then. And I want to start with a really positive high note. Yeah. In that it has definitely been my favourite year as a wedding videographer.
That's awesome to hear.
I have loved my job this year. Because I found my style, I found my people. We always talk about that on this pod, but I do think it's been the most important part of my whole journey, is just finding out who I am as a wedding videographer and leaning into that, and probably cutting out noise a little bit of what you should be and just doing my thing. And this year I've loved every single wedding. I've enjoyed the process of filming them. I've started making the work that I want to make rather than making the work I think I should make. That's been a whole complex thing in my brain for a while of like, I know people like these kind of like, I don't know, I've almost been safe until this year. Yeah. But now I feel like I'm just making something and being like, well, if I love it, the couple is going to love it. Whereas before I'll be like, yeah, but the couple was kind of expecting something just a little bit like timeless and that kind of thing. Yeah. I feel like now for teasers and highlights and stuff, I'm just going, okay, what would I want? Let's just do something really crazy for this or change this up or whatever. And I'm just enjoying that so much. And I think people are much more receptive to that.
Definitely. Well. It's an incredibly brave thing, isn't it? To kind of, like you say, but what if they don't like it? Because it's done, it's too late. Yeah. But I think, you won or you got highly commended at TWIA, didn't you, at the Nationals at the very start of this year, back in January.
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe even subconsciously that's given you a little bit of a confidence? Like, I feel that you've been a lot more confident, like you say, kind of confident in your own ability, or you've stood by the work that you've made with far less doubt this year.
Yeah.
It's very much been, no, people are coming to me and keep saying the same things, that they want this type of film or they see this in my work, and you've really kind of gone, well, that's it, I'm leaning fully into that. You've not had that kind of half a foot stood in the playing it safe. You've very much been, this is my style.
Yeah, it's hard to say as someone who is quite self-motivated, but yeah, I do think that, I've had, third party people look at my work and think that I'm highly commended nationally.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that means that's validation that I can just go and go crazy with my creativity, and that's what people like.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
definitely. I think it's hard, isn't it? That, and I guess that's a much bigger conversation, and it's something that I kind of struggle with a lot as well, is that hopefully mostly the people that book you follow you on socials, and maybe like their mates, wedding photographer, if they were a bridesmaid or something. But most of the time, they're not looking at anywhere near the same level or volume of work in our industry that we are. And as long as they can see something in your work that speaks to them, then you've got them, haven't you? I think we're all too, and I definitely spend far too long going, okay, well, if I want to level up, do I need to look more like the people that are in that price bracket or in that style, or that stuff seems to be really popular at the moment?
Yeah.
Do I need to start egging into that? And it's really hard to kind of go, no, like, this is, and I also am aware that maybe like my style that I feel like I have lent into this year, some of it is really quite abstract.
Yeah.
And if it gets to the end of the wedding and go, oh, here it is, and they go, what have you made? Like, well, where's this photo?
Yeah.
Like, where is the safe stuff? There's some incredibly emotional stuff in here and really like cool stuff, but where's this?
Yeah. In isolation, if you told someone who wasn't planning a wedding that you take photos of their dirty table after they're finished eating, like, they'd be like,
stuff,
but what about my group shots of my dad and Nan?
Yeah, and they are there. Like, I'm not saying I'm abandoning them, but that's what you mean, the stuff that you show. And I think it's almost kind of having that, and I don't think I'm still quite there yet, of having that thing going, people know that you do that stuff. So you need to almost just push the quirky stuff or the stuff which is more you, because that's what separates you.
That's the stuff I love about your work. Is that stuff.
And it's getting that bravery, isn't it, to only show that stuff and not kind of littering it or embellish it, kind of slotting in some other stuff in a carousel to know that it's still there. I think it's almost the more bold that you are, or the people maybe that I admire the most are the people that only show that stuff, because it really kind of narrows that style. Like, I feel now, and maybe it's because you're my pal or whatever, but I think over the course of this summer, again, you've probably been incredibly fortunate with the weather.
Yeah, definitely.
But I could spot a Spice wedding film from a mile off. Like, it's been warm, it's been energy. Like, I feel like everything comes together, and you have really kind of finessed a style this year, which I feel is really your own. And it doesn't kind of blend into the crowd. It really does sit as something which I can go, that's one of it.
And
not
crowd,
even just by the way it looks, but the way that it feels, the pace of it and everything. It's definitely like you say, that energy is there, which I think is something which a lot of people do try and shy away from in the, to kind of, because to make something look more opulent or more classy or more refined, where like the people still singing Grease to their friend, or literally like running, like waving their hands in the air with absolutely zero like shame
cares
or
in the world, Prosecco in hand, whatever it is.
And I feel like you've really you've really brought that out of people, and then you've highlighted that more than anything else in your films. Yeah, definitely. And I'm starting to notice it as well I've mentioned this on previous episodes, like people actually asking me for that stuff. And being like, look, we love you clearly. Like, again, like maybe it's the last episode we spoke about that Planned and how like it's okay, they wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for my intervention, but my intervention has allowed them to be something which maybe they wouldn't have thought to do at a wedding, or allowed them to come together as a group in a way that might not have happened if the bride and groom were just busy chatting to everyone and going from table to table. Now people are actively saying like, oh, I love it when you do this, or like, can we do this at our wedding? And like you say, because of that, I'm feeling that like that confidence boost of, people are liking what I do. So I can go to the wedding and be, I wouldn't say it's a character, but like a lot of my friends probably wouldn't say I think that's fair to say. From someone that has known you for a period of time now, or even knew you, in like the first time that we ever worked together was that very, very beginning of like probably both of our sort of full-time careers. is that watching you grow in confidence as a person as well as a filmmaker, to feel that you can wander up to it. And even we've worked weddings together where I'm going, I'll just leave them alone for 5 more minutes. So like, I've not wanted to interrupt things so that we can take them away. Where it's like, no, we need to go now. And you've gone over and go, we're going. Whereas like, I don't feel that, if anything, if you met us on the face of it, people would say that probably I'm the more outgoing character of the two of us. But then I still feel that you very much know, I know what the film needs. They will thank us if we need to do this now.
Get it done.
And that almost that going to a wedding and being that character, when you've been asked to provide that, I guess that is a lot more.
Knowing it'll be worth it in the end.
Like that, and that conviction is there,
And I think that's where like the positive vibes from the year come from, because I enjoy being that person, that hype man. I enjoy people like bouncing off of people and creating that energy. And then the feeling afterwards when people go, we really enjoyed that. Thanks for doing that, Chris. And like, it's just, you've done something for their wedding beyond provided the video. Like you've brought an energy, a presence, which isn't for everyone, because some people would prefer to be in the background and that kind of thing. But to know that I brought a presence is good.
But also, they don't have to book you. Do you know what I mean? Exactly, it's having that joy, isn't it? Or that confidence of knowing that I only need X amount of couples a year. So as long as I can find that amount of people, which are all getting married on different dates, that want that style. Like, it's almost, again, it comes with a degree of confidence, doesn't it? Going, I haven't got to take a booking that's not really me just so that I can bolster my numbers. It's no, I can have these. And hopefully that's given you a reason where you turn up to every wedding going, just I know excited. They need me to bring it. I don't need to think what version of myself do I need to be today. Like a lot of those films that you've had have all followed a similar arc. And I'd like to think that if you had a gathering of your clients, at the end of the year, that a lot of them would walk away friends, because they are quite similar people. Like you're starting to see patterns emerge in the people that are really very much your target client.
And there'll always be like a couple that are, I mean, I've got on with every couple this year really well, but there'll always be a couple that are like, you just booked you because you make a film or whatever. And you kind of do have to be like, okay, well, I don't think I'm going to bring that to these people's wedding or whatever. And that's absolutely fine too, because sometimes you kind of need to just like have those weddings where you just turn up and have a chat with them and you just get on, and you don't have to like, add anything to it because they've got exactly what they want. And going back to what you said about having like your carousels of maybe feeling like you have to show things beyond, if you've picked out a few photos that you like, but maybe, this carousel is too quirky, maybe I should add a couple shot in to start off with.
A couple of anchor points.
There's always going to be that like, this is for me, this is for you, because we run a business, we need to make money, right? And so there are things I've published this year on Instagram that I'm like, I'm doing it just because it's there, it's content, and it's okay, and maybe I've hit it from a grid or whatever, but like those things are just for marketing rather than the things that we absolutely love and adore.
I think it's having that, isn't it? I think sometimes I sometimes forget that sometimes is that I do take, I think, a lot of it, and you probably, if you listen to the self-employment episode from last time, probably take a lot of my work far too personally. I think, or a lot of things to heart. Like sometimes it is things that you go, oh no, it's just they don't like this, but it still bothers me inside when it shouldn't do. I should have that ability to go, oh, it's a simple thing, I fixed it, it's done, they're happy now. But I still kind of think there's still that element of in it, and maybe when it comes to when you run a business where you do let people in a little bit, or you kind of you take a step into their lives as well, is that in order to have that relationship, in order to kind of dig a little bit deeper into their day, you have to give a bit more to that. But it also means that it hurts a little bit more if things do come up that you go, oh, we just want you to do this, I just want you to do that.
Definitely.
But then I feel that this year, I feel that, even from when you turning up here to do podcasts, but you've gone, oh, I've got this wedding this weekend, you've been able to tell me so much more about your clients, or you're genuinely much more excited about the people that you're filming rather than just the wedding you're filming. And so I think that maybe some of that's happened as well, that it is, this year kind of, that kind of 10th year for you, it's really kind of, you've hit that confidence in the films that you make, but also brave enough to kind of to be a bit more personable, and it's all come together and really kind of worked out.
100%. And I think a lot of that is come from, like you say, the confidence. Like I seem to have got built a lot of confidence, especially since COVID, since doing this podcast, since doing more weddings, that like maybe confidence in my style and doing less weddings and things like that. Like this, I definitely attribute a lot of the stuff towards this pod, and how we talk and having these conversations has it definitely has changed my business. I do wonder where I'd be right now if for the last 3 years we weren't doing this pod.
I do wonder that,
because it would be very different place, I think, because we come into it in a sense that I did it for the business and the money, and not necessarily just for that, but like I'm a business person first and a creative second, and you were probably a bit round the opposite way around, and a people person first. And I feel like a lot of that has rubbed off on each other, and you know. And that's what I attribute towards a good year.
I do believe that as well. I think that in some ways we've come at it, and the rewards that have ended up from the podcast, as well as kind of, you know, getting to speak to you, networking, the rest of it, meeting other people and the rest of it. I do genuinely believe that I've definitely taken things from you into my business, and hopefully that you've gone the other way and it has moved us on. Or even the fact that, you know, you guys listen to these conversations and hopefully they help us sitting here and having them once a month, whether it is high season, low season, you know, kind of dead tired, up for it or whatever, even just having a space to sit with someone who's in your industry and kind of vent those problems out, you know, as much as off pod as on pod. You know, we say we have lunch together, and we normally, one of us has got something that the other one helps out with, that I think, this is probably a really good time to say that, you know, I'm really glad that the podcast exists, that it's obviously, our friendship has grown because of it, but also I think that definitely the improvements, or a lot of the successes that I've made over the last 3 years of my business, I would be foolish to think that they hadn't come because of this podcast.
Yeah. And I feel like that's relating back to what you said about me caring about the people more. It probably comes from your influence a little bit. Like, I don't know if I don't know. It's reading more into the story, reading the room, that kind of thing. I don't know. Like that it probably would have happened over time anyway. As I get older, I think different things become
age
more
helps,
important.
I think, massively as well. I think sometimes we forget that I forget that there is, you know, like a 6 or 7 year age gap between us as well, and kind of coming to those realizations. I think some of it just comes from not only experience in weddings, but just being a little bit older,
a maturation in what's important to you, and what's important, and becoming more aware of what's important as you get older is definitely. It definitely helps when it comes to filming weddings, because that is what it's all about, isn't it?
And I'm really excited to see again where we sit here next year, where, you know, you're sat here at the moment with still, you know, a baby which you talk about in weeks old, where you're going to sit here hopefully when we do this next year with a baby which is over a year old, and the way that becoming a parent has not only shaped kind of your work life behind the scenes of juggling fatherhood, but also then when you film that father of the bride and the rest of it, to be there when you've now got a daughter, knowing that's going to be you one day, how that's going to affect your filmmaking as well. And I think that's a really exciting thing that I'm going to get a front row seat to watch, is how that's going to build as well, because each of the things that you do in life change, don't they, the way that it comes out creatively. And
I do have these thoughts a lot about, like, you know, whenever I talk about my target audience, I talk about dinks, like dual income, no kids, they're like traveling lots and that kind of thing. And I always saw it as like a bit of a richer version of myself, but now I'm not a dink. And it's like, how, like, am I still targeting these people? Am I going to want to target people with kids or a bigger family? Or I don't really know. And again, like most, if not all of my couples next year are exactly my target. Like they are probably early 30s with no kids, like living their absolute dream lives, or traveling all the time, and they're going to have a massive party and it's going to be great. But I wonder whether, like, years down the line, I'm going to start looking at people, I don't know, looking at families differently, and maybe wanting to hone into a bit more of the emotional side. At the moment, that's definitely not it, because it doesn't change just like that, but it is interesting to see.
Well, I think it's you just got to enjoy the ride, haven't you? I think that's it, is that, you know, none of us are the same people that we were when we started these businesses, and year to year it changes, and it's okay to change. As much as, you know, we've said in other podcasts as well that we do book pretty much a year in advance, so next year is very much built on the products of this year's films. That change might become a little bit more gradual, but also I don't think it's you have one or you have the other. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there getting married that are in your position that have children pretty soon after they get married, which you can kind of be that slightly older person going, oh, you know, I can tell you how it's going to go forward. Or people that do it the other way around, that had the high life of lots of travel and enjoyed every bit of that income, and are now going, okay, now that we've got children, we want to get married now and bring our family together. And you can go, oh yeah, you know, you step in and go, yeah, we can still spray champagne and do this and that. It just means that they're throwing the baby in the end, or whatever, you know. And it's those things, isn't it? So I think it's just enjoy it for the ride and don't overthink it.
No, exactly,
I think the more you try and doubt, well, am I not this person anymore? Can I still do this? That you're just leading yourself down a road of worry that you don't need.
I do agree. And like, going based on that, like the camcorder, I want to talk about the camcorder that I've done this year and how that's changed everything for me as well. And I know it's quite a bold statement to make, but there's something about this camcorder that's like, and the footage that I get from it, that's really leaning into everything that I love about weddings. like I give it to a bridesmaid or a family member or whatever it is. Normally it's someone who the bride and groom designate, and it's someone who's outgoing and adventurous and that kind of thing. And so you get that really high energetic footage back. You get lots of messages from guests, and you get really like just things that I could just never capture myself. And it's added a whole other dynamic to my films and my teasers and things like that I absolutely love. And every time I watch them back, and you know, it cuts to like the stuff from the camcorder of the fake VHS over there, and I just think that is cool. I would have loved that, like my guests walking around with a camcorder or something. And
I also think as well that, again, from someone who's watched those teasers and spoke about it, it has allowed you to a degree to let go a little bit technically. From someone again who very much came into this as like, I love using cameras, I love tech. And someone who is really kind of dials into the technical side of, you know, these setups, it has to be great. Very much kind of like technically driven in the way that you expose for things, you add it on, where it's not just a spray and pray mentality. There is very much a method to it. To add, if you'd said to you maybe 2 or 3 years ago, you're going to literally send someone with an early 2000s camcorder, you're going to be downgrading that footage and then slapping it in the middle of your teasers. Like, there would be a bit of you that would be like, oh, I can't do that. Like, I can't put this like super like
degrade my work like that.
Stuff and add it in. But again, I think that human element crept in, or having that kind of mindfulness to go, I can only do what I can do holding my camera. But if you give it to the kid, the dad, the bridesmaid, they're always going to react differently to that camera because it's in their hands. And then the fact of, you know, it kind of reaches that peak nostalgia of the camcorder. It just blends both perfectly, doesn't it?
Yeah. But a lot of the time I describe my work as real rather than polished. Like, I'm not a cinematographer, and I'm not, you know, trying to frame every shot of rule of thirds with an 85mm. Like, a lot of my work is like that. So I think in that sense, the camcorder does make the rest of the footage, it blends in with the rest of the footage, because I shoot like they do, but more professionally in a way.
Well, that's it, but there's still very much an obvious difference between, you know, your graded footage from your Sonys to the camcorder. But I think it's added that human element, because a lot of the camcorder stuff breaks the fourth wall as well, which as a rule, as someone who is like fun documentary doesn't, you wouldn't have couples like playing into the camera in your footage. But to add that in the teasers, people know that then they're not playing up to you, they're playing up to their friends. It kind of goes on, doesn't it? I think, again, it's really kind of added that. It's only enhanced that kind of real in the moment element into the films, hasn't it?
And we've more or less done the same amount of weddings this year, haven't we? So
pretty much,
so I think I'm on 30 this year, which is a good target.
And I'm going to finish on 29 this year, so pretty much the 30 that so it's very nice to kind of have those similar numbers.
And it helps. It really does, like having people, like having a quieter year and having, you know, to being able to focus on your couples and that kind of thing. Again, when you say like that, you know, well, I mean, we both do it. We both like love to get to know our couples and things like that. And you can do that a lot better with when you have less going on outside and less weddings. Like you can, you know, organise in-person meetings or whatever it is that you decide to do. So
I felt that. I feel like other years I've definitely kind of talk the talk about kind of starting to charge more and shooting a little bit less. And I know that I've always done less numbers than some people out there that do kind of shoot really big volume. But this year I do kind of feel that I've definitely kind of walked the walk on that and gone, nope, that is my number. And whilst, again, I wouldn't say that I had loads and loads more inquiries that I've been kind of knocking weddings back. I finished on 29 and not 30 for a reason. But at the same time, there were moments where I was like, that's going to give me a double or a 3 in a week, which I don't want. No, thank you. I'm going to see how it goes this year. And to finish the year on 29 weddings. And I look back over kind of all of my stats since I kind of started this business. And this year was my quietest year in weddings since 2017, which was the year that I went completely full time. Every year after that, I've always done 30, like in plus, the 30s, and then obviously into the 50s, 2021, into the 40s in 2022. So to come back down from the last 2 years, I think I've either been 35 or 36. Coming into the weddings, 6 less weddings, that's 12 less meetings, that's 6 less edits, 6 less slideshows, all of those things.
But if you looked financially at how much you made in 2017 compared to this year.
I didn't look at that, but I think that's maybe the next step of it, is to know that I've done those jobs for probably over double the income. That I think is a kind of a real sign of progress in those years since I left the part-time job behind and became and also going forward, I think it was that year as well that, you know, last year was a bigger travel year for us. We've definitely not slouched on holidays this year. We've still done a bit of work to the house. It was like but I'm still going to be six weddings less than I was last year. So to kind of see, well, what does that number actually look like? Is having life. That time back better than having the few extra grand in the bank?
Yeah.
And I think to a degree, I don't feel particularly that I felt massively poorer financially for it.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I'm still at the end of my stuff. You know, a lot of that stuff came in the summer, and now you get into the winter. It's like, I'd like to have a bit more.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to be the kind of levy which pushes me on to go, okay, the prices can go up now. You know, I'm really happy with the way that my bookings are looking for next year. So to fill those last few spots at a slightly higher price bracket, I think would then give me future confidence as I go, knowing that this is my number now.
Yeah.
Unless kind of life changes rapidly or whatever in the future, that 30 is my number.
Yeah.
It's just kind of how do I squeeze the lemon on that going forward?
Yeah. So you found like a real balance in that number of it's a good income.
Yeah.
But again, there comes a point where the income is like, where did that money go?
Yeah.
Whereas if you sort of cut down a little bit, you realize, oh, actually, I've had the same lifestyle as I did last year, but I probably just haven't like spunked it all on this, that, and the other.
And also, again, if you look over it as well, like I feel like I'm a stuck record, but I've shot somewhere in the region of 70 rolls of film this year as well, personally and at weddings.
Wow.
If you average that at, say, even a tenner a roll, where some of it's almost double that, and then you probably allow for the same or a bit more again to get processed, there's a huge chunk of money there, which I've been spending in my business, in buying film, shooting it, and getting it developed, that I didn't have last year.
True.
So to still feel that I'm not too poor, having lost that, you know, that those few weddings, that's given me even more. And I think that's some of the kind of thing which is driving me on, going that maybe I want to shoot more film next year. That's an easier way for me to justify the price increase. It's not just that I want to have a few more grand in the bank at the end of the year. It's a no, if I need to charge for this to cover my costs so that I can still be in the same situation that I am now.
Yeah. And I think it goes without saying, for the most part, if I know this is the goal for everyone, but do less weddings and earn the same amount or whatever, but for the most part, you can actually provide a higher value service if you charge a bit more and do less, can't you?
I think I've had more Google reviews this year, even just got the reviews.
Yeah.
And I think, again, every year there's always, like you said, a few couples which kind of you just kind of really feel you hit your stride with.
Yeah.
But I feel that, I've had particularly a couple of couples that booked the engagement shoot, they've booked the album afterwards. I did their final meets in person. So by the time it got to the day, I was really dialed in.
Yeah.
And even been able to go, oh, do you know what? Yeah, I can go and meet them for a beer half an hour down the road. We'll meet halfway from where they live because I'm doing less weddings.
Yeah.
I've definitely, I think, to lead to enjoyment of my job more.
Yes. Yeah.
Is there, or I feel like I'm at most at one with my couples, that when I rock up on that morning, I'm very much going, I need to look around the room and hopefully a face will kind of come back to me to go, oh, that's the bride.
Yeah.
It's always been, hey Tom, I'll come in. Like it's never been, oh, the photographer's here.
You know them as people rather than as bride
very
and groom.
much so.
Yeah.
Or again, I've followed them in their journey leading up to the wedding. So you saw the hen party photos go up on Instagram, or certain things about them, or you say you've had those. There was something they spoke about at that final meet in person, which then it comes through on the day. That level of understanding has been there so much more, which I think because it kind of soaks in when you talk to somebody face to face about it, it means that I'm looking at that kind of list of notes or time schedule even less throughout the day.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely helped me kind of get into that kind of creative flow state at a wedding, because I'm looking at the list less.
I mean, when me and you turn up to a wedding and the bride sat there going, oh yeah, we're off to Disney World in a bit, and like you can just sit there and have a chat with them in the morning, you just know that like you're it's your people, right?
Yes,
it's like
and again, I think that's a kind of a sum up, isn't it, of years of kind of slowly giving more, and kind of being more. And I feel like genuinely I can say that, and I think it's something that's hopefully come up in other years, which I feel that as the years have gone on, I have felt more comfortable to be nothing other than myself at weddings.
That's huge.
And whilst there has been probably some doubt behind the scenes of going, well, how much more can I grow this? Or again, I've never wanted to be a luxury photographer, but kind of push on financially, or weddings that look a certain way. Are they going to book me if I'm a certain way?
Yeah.
But I still need to be me. I think that's kind of been the lesson of this year, is that in order to get that enjoyment, in order to make this work and get that close to people, that trust needs to be there. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah, the more you open up, the more people can relate to you, and sometimes that's obviously going to alienate people, but for the most part it's going to bring people closer to you as a person rather than a business.
Yes.
And I also feel like, I don't know, I feel like because you're having more time and putting more energy into like the business side of things, that you're doing a lot more of this like networking kind of stuff? Like, obviously you did photography farm like every year,
Yes.
but you have signed up to something next year, the retreat, and also you did mentoring this year as well, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I think that's something that's worth mentioning because it's in your notes as well, is that we both kind of, I think whilst it hasn't been a big year for Kit, it's been a big year for kind of learning on our part. Obviously, we offered some workshops, didn't we, last year as the pod? We didn't do any this year. The Coactive, obviously, we had Katie on the pod in the year, because she had a baby. We kind of scaled the Coactive back. So I feel that there's been times to kind of, do just more like learning and personal growth. And I took on a mentorship at the start of this year. So February, March and April, I was mentored by Lisa Devlin who runs Photography Farm. She also does a personal mentorship scheme.
Yeah.
And I feel that in terms of giving me, like you said, like confidence in the business side, because I never started as a business person. I wanted to go and do that and kind of start to build systems with her that was like, I want that side to be taken care of, but in a way that it doesn't take a lot of my time even more. And I would say that was, if anyone's on the fence about being mentored at any level that you are in your business, is do it.
Yeah.
Always find someone whose work you look up to or has what you want, really. And, I've always admired Lisa for, been able to run the mentorship program that she does continually throughout the year, as well as host 2 conferences, as well as shoot weddings, and still seems to go to her share of gigs and have days out and things like that. It's like that lady's got some systems working for her, that definitely. She run things efficiently. Yeah. And so that was one of the real big things that when I went to her and said, that's one of the things that I want to pick up on. And it worked. I think, again, going through that process of being accountable and having a call booked in, kind of in the next week, and I kind of want to get this done. And, again, maybe that combined with it came at the right time for me that I had a quieter start to the year to get the work done.
Yeah.
That it meant that throughout the year now, when things did get busy, my systems of booking final calls, taking on new clients, kind of marketing that stuff out, it has very much felt like a much more oiled machine.
Yeah.
And I've been doing it with purpose, rather than I just need to do something, I just need to post something, and posting whatever to get it done, or I really wish I had time to get this started because it would save my time, and I haven't done it.
Yeah.
I felt that the mixture of her knowledge and the accountability that the program gave me has really kind of tidied up the back end of my business this year, as much as kind of it's made me think about the front facing stuff.
It gives you extra confidence as well, doesn't it, in your methods when there's someone telling you what's worked for them, and also, like you say, you're having this accountability and going back and be like, right, this is what my plan is, and then having that plan in place. I think a lot of us, when we're self-employed, some of us are self-employed for a reason. Like we don't necessarily have the same, our brains don't work in the same way as other people, and so you can end up being like the swan that's like all looking great on the surface, but actually underneath you have no processes in place. You're like scrambling to reply to emails, you haven't replied to an inquiry in 2 weeks, and like everything's just you're posting on Instagram or whatever because you feel like you have to, and like these processes get neglected because I'm getting booking, so it's fine. But then once you get all of these processes in place, the foundation of your business,
very much that's the best way to call it.
Then everything else will build on top, and it helps your work-life balance, it helps your confidence in your business, and it probably makes your couples feel better in some way because everything's a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, I think that's it. And I think it's those things, like it's that kind of confidence, or even just that kind of mental weight off of your shoulders, kind of knowing that stuff's in order.
Yeah.
Is that when someone kind of books in or goes, you've made this so easy for us, and you're like, I have, haven't I? Like, it's very nice to go, well, why didn't I implement this before? Like everyone told me, if you do this, it will make it so much better. But I've always found an excuse to not get round and do that thing that would, because it takes a degree of setting up, or it's going to take a punch of work in the beginning. But now that I feel that in that end, it feels like it's given me more kind of mental capacity to look at other parts of my business, because a lot of the more boring kind of like foundation stuff, like I've really kind of tidied that up this year.
Yeah.
And that was exactly what I wanted the mentorship to do. And I think similarly as well, you wrote in your notes, obviously you went to Rue's retreat, didn't you, at the start of the year? It was the first year you were invited to that. And the feedback that you got from that has helped the way that you've done your films this year. And I think kind of just at a point before you talk about kind of your experience of it, I think that's a lot of it as well, is that it's really lovely to get awesome feedback from clients, get lovely Google reviews from other photographers going, that's a really great shot, mate. No one's there to tell you you're doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
Like when you're in your work, you have an appraisal, someone goes, you need to do this, or why aren't you doing that? When we're our own bosses and we work with one person, and also we set our targets. We're going to do it at the end of this, but no one's there to kick my ass if I don't do them.
Yeah.
Like, just to have that level of kind of accountability, or someone kind of bearing down and you go, well, why do you do it that way?
Yeah.
Why don't you do it this way? Or why have you ever thought that was a good idea? Like, almost it's hard to hear. And I think sometimes one of the biggest crutches of being self-employed is that it can make you really bad at taking criticism.
Yeah.
Because there's no one there to criticise you. For the most part, people only say lovely things about what you do and what you create.
Couples love their films, and you know more than they do about video for the most part. So,
and if someone comes back with a complaint, it's really easy to go, well, what do they know? Or this and that. And you don't. But if you had kind of even a peer-to-peer review, or you had an opportunity where someone sat down and kind of looked at every aspect of your business and gone, well, do this, and improve it, it's 100%. Like wholeheartedly worth it. And if you're out there kind of feeling that those bits are the bits that you're stuck with, I urge you to go into the new year looking for a mentorship scheme. I would recommend Lisa's. Even of your video, I think as well, a lot of the stuff that I learned would be transferable across. It's not kind of, just honed into photographers at all. Yeah. Or again, find someone in your industry whose work you admire or systems you admire.
Yeah, true.
And pick their brain, get on a call with them. Again, give them some of your money to make, because you will make that back in kind of mental freedom, time gained, and also money in what you can charge, because you're making things easier for your couples.
Yeah, it can feel like a lot, and we've said this on the pod before, how like that sort of education is important, especially if it's someone you respect, or you like their systems, or you like their films or photos or whatever it is. There's little risk that you're going to go into it and come out with something that's not going to be valuable, no matter what it is. I often talk about the Lawson Film School and how I went into it thinking I've been in business for this many years, so I don't expect to come out of it a lot. And my films have completely changed since going into that. And our styles are like still a little bit different, but there's things I implement on the wedding day and things I look for and all that kind of stuff that have completely changed, and it's made my films better from that workshop.
Yeah, and I think it's the simplest of sentences sometimes, isn't it? The things that maybe you go into those things thinking you're going to get back from it aren't always the things, but they can just say one kind of flippant thing, and that will live with you rent-free for a long time otherwise. And I think it's bringing your mindset around. Like you said, when you went to Lawson's, was that this year?
That was last year.
Was it last year again? Yeah. So, but doing that kind of really brought your mind around. That was the first piece of kind of paid for education that you'd done in your business, really, as well. The first kind of training and stuff you've gone to is bringing it round and going, oh, that was worth it. And so when you go back to sign up to go to a retreat or to go to a conference or to take on a mentorship or whatever, you kind of go into it wanting to learn rather than kind of bat away any sense of criticism, going, well, I don't need to know that.
Yeah.
And being defensive about it.
Yeah. And one of the key things from this year for me was going to the retreat that we organised in February. A few of us videographers all get together, and like one of the things we did was show each other our films. So you show each other, you put your film on the big screen, and people like openly criticise it.
It's terrifying, right?
It is. It really is. Especially like every single person there, I had huge respect for, and like love their work and that kind of thing. And to show all of those, like be open and vulnerable to all of these people is a big thing. And one of the biggest bits of feedback I got was about music and about like using music from the same key and trying to make like that sort of transition between different songs a bit more seamless. And so it's something I've worked on this year. I've bought the Multiplier Sound Multiplier Media, I think they're called, pack, which is basically a pack of like little bits of music in different keys that you can use to blend two songs together.
I watched you did like an Instagram story about this, didn't you, a little while ago, when you could almost with the pack you can then add like hard and like
transitions
kind of different things,
little bits like that. And so far, again, like I've not had anyone not been to any of these things since, but in my opinion, I'm blending these songs much better. I'm looking so much more at keys in music. So like for the whole year, I've been trying to use the same key for a whole film, which is something that I wouldn't notice and my couples wouldn't notice. But I've shown videographers and they notice. It's like now that's always going to live in my head.
I think again though, a lot of that stuff is subliminal changes.
Yeah,
it's not until you looked at what you did before and go, this doesn't sound right now, why that music should lift as the moment lifts, or that should drop as the moment drops, or the tear falls, or whatever. Like sound engineering is probably, I think, one of the biggest overlooked things, I think, in filmmaking, isn't it? Because you come into it from, I've got to get like the right sweep on a camera angle, I need to get that moment. But if you listen to some of your favourite movies without the film score or without the music, it would change the mood so much. It's just another kind of tool in your arsenal that if you can get really nerdy and learn about keys, like if you're not a musician, why would you know that that's in C and that's in G? But G is naturally warmer and you do that for highs, or then you drop into something else. Yeah. Like it's just adding that extra level of skill to what you do.
If you transition a song badly, it can take you right out of the action. And so having something that when one track finishes, there's still that G sharp in the background just swinging for a little bit as the bride walks down the aisle, and then the next song starts while that little transition piece is playing. It really does make a difference to how you feel about transitioning between those two songs. I always feel like I've edited really well to different highs and lows in the film, so that in music, so that hasn't really bothered me. But using those transitions, and when I posted that story about whatever it was, like a transition between one song to another, or I think I didn't like part of a song, so I added this in to change the music a little bit. The groom actually messaged me and was like, "Oh, I'm glad you did this. D sharp is my favorite key." And I was like, "Wow, okay." Well, I didn't like.
Who knew people had a favorite key?
That's exactly what I said. But yeah, people notice, I think.
But again, I suppose if you are a musician or someone who that is your field of expertise, I imagine that if you are someone that works in sound production or engineering, then they go to watch wedding films, that's a really important thing to them. And if someone comes to you and goes, you've really nailed that, that's the reason that you've got the book in. It's always just rounding your skill set out, isn't it, all told? Or that's maybe something that you would never have even gone down that rabbit hole of fixing if you hadn't gone to the retreat, right?
Because you don't notice it doesn't mean other people don't as well.
I think it leans back to that being ready to learn, doesn't it? Is you only most of the time get feedback from couples that book you. And go, or when you're on a call with them, they go, "Oh, well, we found you because of this. We really like this." No one tells you why they didn't book you or why they clicked off your website.
True.
Instantly, I read this sentence and was like, "No, I'm gone." We never hear those things. And I feel like we should. Like if there was a way that before someone clicked off the website was like, "Can you just give me one sentence as to why you're leaving?" There would be so much useful stuff in that.
There would. Yeah.
Like I would love to kind of send some strangers my website and then watch them move about it, or find out what the icks in my work are as to why they leave them. And some of them I'd be completely fine with because it meant they weren't my couple. Like some things are actively there to put people off. But if there are some small changes that mean that I am losing couples that would be my potential client through simple fixes.
That's something you'd want to know.
I would really want to know. I
always ask people now if they don't book, why they didn't book. But a lot of the time it's really small things, just like budget, or someone jumped on a call before you did, and like little things like that, and it's like, okay, well that's
things we should just like
sweep under the rug sort of thing. But so we've both done a lot less of other things this year as well, right? So last year I think I remember saying that I'd pretty much ditched my corporate work and the YouTube channel that I did. And that was because I looked at the time spent versus the income, and how much I was enjoying it. I had a little chart of like enjoyment, time spent, income, and that's the way I problem solve, is like looking at different things. I noticed I was spending a lot more time on, like, YouTube takes a long time to do.
I can imagine.
It's enjoyable to an extent, but when you have to keep bashing out videos, it's not. And it was making me money, but I could do a couple more weddings and make the same amount back. So like decided not to do that anymore, and I do miss it a little bit. And then corporate work, similarly to you, it's like it's headspace. I think with corporate work, it's like, can you do this in 2 weeks? And it's like, you've already got a few weddings in, but you know you need to keep this client. But then, like, at least for video, like, you know that it's not going to be a job that you can quickly bash out and send, because there's going to be feedback in a week or two's time, and that might be that feedback might come when you've got 3 trailers to edit. And for me, it's a headspace thing of, okay, I can make money through corporate work, but part of the joy of weddings for me is how linear it is. You get paid, you film the wedding, you edit the wedding, normally you like it, job done.
It's like a very different business, isn't it? Sometimes I've found that sometimes, that as much as I've found doing things that aren't weddings good for kind of inspiration or to break the kind of the flow of always doing the same thing, it can almost really break it. And I know they have in times last year where I had like a run of in the end of like weddings kind of every other day for 3, and in the 2 gaps I ended up shooting commercial projects for the same client and ducking in and out to one for the other, but that client's still expecting heroes the next morning when I'm trying to pack up to a wedding, or then trying to reframe yourself back into wedding world because you're out into that world. I think by not having as much of that this year, or taking up some of the corporate stuff much more on my own terms, which is I literally could do in an odd morning in a week, it wasn't time pressure stuff. having again that headspace back was more definitely worth it than the money that the other jobs gained me.
Yeah, I think, and I don't know about you, I think you put it in the notes as well, but I don't feel like I've got more time back by doing it.
Yeah,
but maybe that's just because we fill time. I don't know.
I think we'll always fill time. I think that kind of goes into one of my kind of resolutions at the end of it is where whilst I've done, I think probably 8 or 10 commercial jobs that I did last year, I haven't done this year.
Yeah,
again, I've done the less weddings. I still don't really feel that day to day. It's not like, I can just take the afternoon off.
Yeah.
Like my work week is still full. There's still times where I'm popping back to my desk in the evening because I've got a call or I need to do this. But then kind of as my notes went on, I think I did look at my calendar this year and go, well, that 6 less weddings meant also that I had the entire of Easter. I shot a wedding on the Thursday before Easter, but had the 4 days of Easter off.
Yeah,
I had one of the bank holiday weekends in May off. Obviously, I always shoot the festival in August, so I had that off. And I think I managed to actually have like chunks of time off. Which is times that if I had a wedding, I'd just shoot at the weekend.
Yeah.
Like the time in the week, I think, is the bit I need to work on now.
Yes, agreed,
but in terms of actual doing less, it's given me more time off when it's mattered.
Yeah.
It's actually given me more weekends with my wife and with Max and going and seeing family. There's been a lot less of that. Like I haven't rocked up, to go and see my in-laws up north and go, it was 6 months the last time I saw you.
Yeah. Yeah,
and I've maybe forgotten that. It just seems that when
That's
you're back at your
really
desk,
good point.
when you're back at your desk at 7 in the evening, going, I shouldn't be here. I'm building systems to make this so this is not the case.
Yeah,
I think in the thick of season, it's always going to be that way.
Yeah, but it's giving you the flexibility. I think having weekends back is what you were just saying is something that you can forget about because during the week when you're working extra hours, it can make you think, I've not got any of this time back. But when I look at what happened, I think this April just gone, or like April and May just gone, like people were starting their wedding seasons, and there were people filming like 3-4 weddings in a week and things like that. And I was like, my season don't really start till like mid-May.
Yeah.
And I was just, me and Kate were doing stuff at the weekends and going on date days and things like that at weekends, while on Instagram all of my fellow videographers were filming weddings.
Yeah.
And that is probably where you get the time back.
Yeah, I think that's what I hadn't realised. And again, one of the most useful things about doing these exercises is it kind of churns those things over, is that it's a day-to-day, it didn't seem as, I've got much less edits to do. Yeah. There's always things to do at your desk. And so I think that's the next level as we look into next year, to kind of structure my working weeks better, but to not look at my calendar and go, I have not got a weekend, or like a full weekend off now for the next 16 weeks or the next 20 weeks. Yeah. That alone, I think, has been so much. Even like, no, I can dig in. I can stay late at these 2 weddings because I'm not getting up for one the next day, or I've only got 2 weekends on the bounce, and then I can go and see my friends, or I can have a weekend off that weekend. I feel like I've gone to every wedding, and I put this in the notes, I've gone to every wedding with a much more sense of like enthusiasm or excitement to be there. There's, I've always loved this job, and I still do. As soon as I get to the wedding, I'm fine. I'm in the bubble and I'm there. But there is that drive home, and I've definitely had that other years where I've been driving home late at night going, how many more years younger can I do this?
Yeah.
Where I'm out every weekend. I'm staying, this. I haven't felt that at all this year. Okay. If anything, I've had a couple of times where DJs that I work with a lot have gone, are you still here, mate? Why not? Like I've had 2 or 3 weddings this year where I have stayed to the end. I know I was booked that way, and I've had lots of weddings where I've left in the last hour simply because I've waited for a late sunset and I've just been having a nice time because I've bonded with the couple. I haven't felt the need to go, actually I can just get up and preview this tomorrow morning because I haven't got another wedding tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think,
whereas if you had a double or had a couple that weekend, it'd be like, I should probably go home because the couple tomorrow need.
Yeah, because I'm an early start there, which is a bit more of a journey away. Or if it's on a Sunday, then I've got 2 lots of previews to do on the Monday morning because I've shot doubles. Or because I haven't had any of that, I think it's allowed me to actually be at the wedding, which then again, that's mental headspace that when you thinking, I've only got an hour of this dance floor, nobody dances, I've got nothing, but I still have to go.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, it's fine. I go and have a wander around, or I'll go and find something else to take pictures of, or I'll get a slice of pizza, and then I'll come back around to it.
Yeah.
And I've always left the wedding feeling I've got everything I need, not just the things I need haven't happened in the time that I've had.
So I'm off. Yeah.
And again, I know that maybe there's, in a business sense of that, there's always a bit of, no, you do your hours, but to have that mental kind of security, walking away going, I know I've got a good evening gallery rather than, it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
That alone, I think, has made me not then dread the edit or, dread delivering it because I think, is there going to be enough?
Because it's just a well-rounded
Yeah, because deep down, I probably knew I should have stayed later, but couldn't or didn't or whatever. So I think, that time back has definitely been that all those things have contributed to why 30 is going to be my number.
Definitely. I feel like I've almost been the opposite with that, because I've had like 3 triples this year.
Yeah.
So there has been a lot. I mean, I still feel the same, that I'm staying a lot longer than I used to, because I'm enjoying it a lot more.
We think you had that one in the summer, didn't you, where like, you had to wait for cold sparklers at like nearly 11 at night.
Yeah. So
and you were a drive from home then, but the motivation of how cool that was, although it still worked, that battles you through, doesn't it?
Yeah, that was 10:30 at night, and then I went to stay in a Premier Inn and got up at 9 the next morning for the next, or whatever, like to the venue at 9 the next morning for the next wedding. And I remember being shattered for that. And I was literally just thinking, like, a couple of my favourite films from this year have been the third wedding of the triple. And I remember feeling just like drained as hell, like at the start of the day, but by the end of the day being in the zone, because you just get back into it. And the mornings are like, oh man, this is the third one in a row. I'm like, my back's hurting from carrying that big old lens and gimbal and everything. But actually the momentum continues, especially if it's a nice weather weekend, which it will get onto, but I've had really good luck with this year. It's like a sunny weekend and you're just like, I'm glad I'm making the most of this, getting my 3 weddings done in one weekend so that I can have another 1 or 2 weekends off somewhere.
And that's what I was at the start, when we kind of, that would have been the dream. And I think I only had 1 double all year, which still meant I've had some time off, but I could have had more. If I'd have done 15 doubles, and that'd have been it. 15 weekends out of 52 I've worked. That would have been ideal. I know that your July was. I think a lot of your triples came all at once, which maybe felt that you had a real intense block.
Yeah.
But I remember again coming here and I've got 1 wedding this weekend, a couple of weddings, like saying you getting through pretty much to the last bank holiday in May without shooting a wedding. That it meant that you really had those times to enjoy long weekends together. And that is the payoff, isn't it, of doing those triples?
Early in the year, I had a lot of time to just like ease into the season. And then July and August was crazy and a bit too much. But
how's it looking for next year? Have you got, like, obviously I know that prime for, the sunny films that you make, feel good films, a lot of them are going to happen.
It's exactly the same. I'm already seeing the pattern. Like sort of July to mid-August, it's just crazy already. And I'm only 2/3 booked. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
How it goes.
But it's, like you say, like I think I find summer weddings match my style more, and clearly I show that.
Yeah, and I think that's probably worth to move into weather. Then I think that's probably a good place to go from here, because I think I feel that in some ways I still probably only had 2 or 3 really epic sunsets this year.
Yeah,
I think I still had some where it's like, it could be. No, it's falling flat and cloudy. Like a couple of those moments. But then I think again, that's I put it down to if I'm doing. Other years I've done 40 weddings, this year I'm doing 30. That's 10 less chances at a great sunset in the summer. Or also my summer, I don't feel was like rammed like yours.
Yeah.
Like over those course of those weddings, I think June and July, I was probably only still shooting 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Where other years it's been double that in the high summer months, where they're your best chances at getting those kind of big summer, it's like really hot days.
You had a busy, was it September, October yet?
October and May were my busiest months. So again, the 3 months of the summer weren't.
Yeah. And
I probably got some of my best sunsets in those months of summer. When you were coming back, say July and August on those triples, you were sometimes banking 2 and 3 or epic golden hours in a row.
Yeah.
It might have been the weekend that I had off, or I only had 1 wedding.
Yeah.
So again, there's much. And I know sunsets aren't everything. You can't praise a whole season on sunsets, but they do make it easier to sell a year, don't they? Of sunniness and
the weather changes the mood.
Maybe that's my film scanner. Hold that thought. Anyway, sorry, I felt that you can tell it's been Black Friday, can't you? And you can tell we've been ordering stuff because the parcels are arriving in their droves. But yeah, back to the weather.
So the weather does change your mood, and I'm ashamed by how much it changes my mood. Like in the winter, I'm considerably less active and like cheerful than in the summer, because in the like I just love the sun. I love the vibe that it brings out in people. There was that 2 years ago where we did the summary. Like this episode 2 years ago, and part of the negativity from the episode came from the fact we had I think it was like the 7th rainiest July on record or something.
The whole summer was just continually wet.
It was horrible, and like as much as that shouldn't affect our job, it does, because people act differently.
Yeah,
and the weddings end up being different, and the vibe ends up being different. And for me, like I rely so much. I love so much that element of you have the evening and everyone's outside having a drink, and you can go bring the bridal party out or whatever you want to do, have a sunset shoot, so that changes things for me. And this year I've had a really good weather month this year. But I was just thinking, with you being busy in October, you say that my work lends itself to the summer. I think yours might lend itself to autumn.
I think it does.
Yeah.
And I think naturally, as much as I think and maybe a few years ago, I very much kind of built a reputation, or a lot of my work was booked on big long sunsets. But now, if on my contact form, it says kind of, what do you like about my work? Warm is one of the words that comes up so much.
Yeah.
And I think that September and October weddings, where kind of the leaves start to go a bit more golden, that kind of again like a bright day but not super sunny.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think my work works super well in loads and loads of light. Like pockets of light and low sun is much more kind of me. So. Yeah, I think that
if you'd have like a cozy hotel with a window and a fireplace, like it's like
that's it, fine, yeah. And again, I do definitely find that the sun massively increases my mood. I like to have that bit after dinner where everybody goes back out into the courtyard or out onto the lawn. That is always my much more favourite drinks reception than the first one. And I think, say, just having time on a wedding day, there's nothing worse than kind of going, that sun's going down and they've just pulled, like speeches are coming up, they're just serving dessert.
Yeah.
If I don't interrupt here and hold speeches off, we're not getting them out because it's going to be dark. Like that kind of stuff gives you kind of a little bit more. It can feel more kind of rushed, can't it, at that time of the year? And summer, you don't get that.
And fabricated as well. It feels like we're not going out because you've got time. We're going out because it's now or never, basically. Yeah.
But then I also think, because the same thing as well, is that I definitely had a couple of rainy weddings this year. But one of my rainy weddings, it rained all day and I was in a marquee. Mm-hmm. That was probably one of my most favourite weddings of the year.
Yeah.
I think sometimes a little bit of adversity, which sounds really kind of mean because you never really hope for what rain on people's wedding days. Yeah. As long as it doesn't really suffer too much and they still get like a really, like the energy is great.
Yeah.
Kind of that little bit of like adversity just makes for the best story for me.
Yeah.
Like the watching people overcome bad weather or, like whatever happens, that kind of makes that day have a little bit of kind of adversity.
You can make the most of it. Yeah.
It makes a good story, doesn't it? Just like it was super sunny, everyone was super happy. You capture that peak joy.
Yeah.
But that's like emotion on one level. Like I think sometimes like to have a kind of a little bit of a something.
Yeah. The rain doesn't matter as much as your reaction to it matters.
Oh, exactly that.
Or the couple's reaction.
And I think one of those wet weddings I had was in August, but it's still probably one of my favourite weddings of the year because they got the ceremony outside, then it turned right at the end of the ceremony, and everyone rushed back, and we were stuck in the marquee for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
But the party was insane. Like the ceremony, we still got bit was fun. So I think in terms of the story of the wedding. I think that's for me is always what it's about. It's about a good story, isn't it? Yeah. And that's a sense of movement through
and
it.
That can come in any weather.
Yeah. So it's definitely like it's kind of an odd thing. We wouldn't be a British podcast if we didn't talk about the weather.
Talk about the weather.
But I feel like with what we do, particularly when you're planning like predominantly events that have outdoor elements, they do go hand in hand as to how things feel, don't they? For sure. I think we're kind of getting into the closing parts of it now. And before we go into highs and lows and stuff, I think the last kind of topic we should tackle, which we've kind of touched on as we've gone through, is just kind of workload and how we're feeling about the year. Because although it comes with highs, and I want this to kind of stay a really kind of positive episode, it still has taken its toll, hasn't it? Being single business owners and having really busy times does come with its share of its mental burden. Yeah,
definitely. As we mentioned in the last episode, that being self-employed is going to come with these things, and I think we've both put in various places on our notes that we're still not happy with the work-life balance that we've struck. I feel like last year I already reached a point where my work-life balance is on point. This year, for some reason, I don't feel like that. And maybe that's because it's all been back-ended into like January to June. I think I had 8 weddings between January and June. So I was chilling. It felt really good. Again, I had weekends with Kate. I had lots of projects going on, played loads of paddle, and then July to December has just been chaos, pure chaos, with like July and August being some of the busiest months, and September actually, and then October baby comes, and it's just So some of it's been out of my control, but it's worth looking into the future and being like, what was it this year, and how can I not? I take bookings regardless, right? I'm not.
Yes.
That you can't control whether they're spread out or not. And mine, they're always going to come in July and August because of my style. But it's trying to control that workload so it spreads out a bit.
Like you say, I think now that we're sat here and you look in hindsight, your year very much was a year of extremes, wasn't it? To almost effectively have 5 months off.
Yeah.
Or every weekend off.
Yeah.
to be able to go and feel that you've not, we have really made the most of this, because I've never felt like this before.
Yeah.
We've had weekends away, we've had holidays, we've had this, we've had that. Then like the excitement of kind of like announcing to family about the pregnancy and stuff, and kind of you went to go and see them and do that because you could.
Yeah.
And then to almost kind of fall into this, oh crap, I've got a wedding, a month with 11 weddings.
Yeah.
Like that's staying away at weekends in hotels, then between weddings, say finishing late, starting early.
Yeah.
And then it's not almost, I've got this blip in the middle and then can enjoy the editing time afterwards because baby arrived.
Yeah.
And that's come with its own set of challenges. Yeah. It really has felt that someone's folded your year in half. And this has been the really stressful side, and this was the really lovely side.
Yeah.
Where I think where mine has been like it's kind of come in waves.
Yeah.
Where I've had busy bits, but then kind of clawed it back in
and
other ways.
Another busy like October and
Yeah, and so I think I kind of... Going on holiday again was wonderful, but I think and underestimated how kind of chilled I was, and have come back, and that feeling this year of coming back and going, oh, the world's definitely still spun without me, like that was worse this year. And I think that even though that bookings have still come in for me probably better than they did last year, I think that general kind of uncertainty in the industry this year has really hampered. I've let that bother me more than I think I should have done.
Yeah, I think it's been easy to hear that noise this year. Like a lot of the time, it's like if you look for it, there'll be people like struggling or whatever. But this year, it's been like every other post on the whatever group it is is anyone how people are doing for bookings next year, and is our content creators going to steal our jobs and all of this like everywhere you look is that a little bit of. There's some hesitancy in our industry at the moment, which
and I still think
difficult not to let that. You're thinking, oh, I've got some bookings, I'm going to raise my prices. Yeah. Oh, actually, I shouldn't be doing that because there's people out there struggling, and it's like that noise in your head, isn't it?
100%. I still think like that we did. If you remember that far back, that it's the start of the year. We recorded 2 episodes at Cozy Club because I was having my bathroom done here, so we couldn't record. That we did one with Hannah. I think that's probably still our most viewed episode of the year, but the one that we recorded after that Are Your Inquiries Slow, as like a non-guest episode on a level, just me and you talking, I still think that is our most watched episode. I know it came up probably that early part of the year again when people were quieter and whatever, but I still think that speaks volumes about how the industry has felt this year about weddings as a whole. And it's been hard. Like you said, I set myself a couple of booking targets. I wanted to be half booked for next year by halfway through this year. I hit it, and it was like, okay, then I can put the prices up. I didn't. And then before I went on holiday, I was like, I want to be 2/3 booked before I go on holiday. And I did it. And I still didn't put the prices up. I still haven't done it yet. Again, and now it's like, it's the end of the year. And I think with doing this, looking at how far I am booked, looking at the costs, say, from where I want to go with film and stuff next year, I can make that as a more business decision now rather than a vanity decision, if that's the right word. But I do think that it's largely down to that industry noise or seeing that everyone's going, bookings aren't coming like they used to, or it is a bit uncertain, how's it going to look next year? It's gone, do I want to rock the boat for the sake of a couple of £100 a wedding? Yeah.
And it's a confidence thing as well. Like when your last booking can directly affect the mood that you're in a little bit. Like I know that I've come here before and you've gone, it's just dead. I'm booking. And the same with me. I'll be like, the last 2 months, nothing's come in.
Crickets.
And then like the next month will come in and the roles will swap and the other person will be saying the same thing. But your confidence depends on when you had that last booking, and there's that worry that if you put your price up, you'll either get a booking straight away and you'll be like, oh, people do want to book at this price, or nothing will come in for 2-3 months and you'll think, oh, maybe everyone's right, the industry's going downhill, I'm going to put my prices back down. And I think it will go down as well. Like if hopefully people, if we look back at this episode as well in years to come, that this will be definitely a year of kind of bigger changes in our industry. I think this is the year, again, sure, there's been content creators in other years, but they have emerged, photographers trying to cling to hybrid take up hybrid. There's been I feel like a lot of people in the industry, and not just on our side, on the hair and the flower, people have always been trying to diversify. I've seen DJs buying photo booths. A lot of everybody doesn't seem confident in their own thing, that they are starting to kind of take roots in other areas. Magicians doing MCing.
Like a lot of that stuff. I think it's really been the year of that. And so I'm hoping that hopefully starts to settle and you see some of that kind of
what works.
I don't know, say desperation is not the right word, but people starting to feel that diversified or adding more things are that kind of lessened, and that will help the industry recover, or that uncertainty fade. I think that's the
it's either that people will figure out that actually be good at the thing that you do, or it's that people will slot into their roles like if we want I don't know, if we want a videographer, then it has to have this and this. If we want a content creator, it's completely different. Or maybe they start working side by side, or those kind of things.
It's seeing what sticks, isn't it?
See what sticks, exactly.
I think some things sadly will become the new normal.
Yeah.
And then some things will fall back to the buy side, or hopefully go back to the way that they were.
Yeah.
It's just, I think this year has been that year, though, where all of that's been moving around.
Yeah.
And I don't know anyone that I've spoken to that has sailed through this year mentally unscathed by that in this industry, or it hasn't led to them having a little bit of doubt. Even if it's someone that's had a really good year, there's still been a lot of that. Well, another year, I just put my prices up.
Yeah.
I'd have to put my prices up. And they're going, shall I? I don't think that I'm alone in that anyway.
Yeah. I mean, venues. Some venues are struggling. I chat to venues all the time, and they'll have less bookings for next year than they've ever had for next year by this point in the year. And so if you look at the people at the top of the food chain that are struggling, and that like we can all look into different reasons for that, and we've definitely done a couple of episodes ago our predictions for next year. But some people are having like smaller weddings, they're getting married at different places. Some people are doing half days, a lot more registry office followed by restaurants and things like that. Like the budget's lower sometimes. There's all of those different things.
Endless reasons.
But the people that you want are still there, and don't get caught up in when you're looking at stories and people are saying I'm fully booked for next year because they're in a different situation to you. I think that's really important as well, because there are people that I've seen already, videographers that earlier this year were saying already fully booked for 2026, and there was a part of me that's like, what am I doing wrong? But then I realised that like there's different circumstances out there. What is fully booked to them might not be fully booked to you. They might be advertising one price, putting it down for a lot of people. You just don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. I mean, there's been a lot of that this year, I think, as well. A lot of people kind of offering discounts that aren't advertised or taken. And I think, and you've said in your notes, I think there's other times where there's jobs have come in where you may have said, you might have held on your price, go no, or you might have neglected to add on a little bit of travel just because you think that's a deal breaker in getting the book in.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the way that I've been. I wouldn't say that I can honestly say as well that I haven't given away any big discounts to anybody. I've not been chopping packages in half or knocking big lumps off. But there has been times where maybe I've started to go a little bit further, or someone's gone, oh, could you just do this? And I've gone, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like I've started to kind of flex what I offer a little bit in order to kind of get that deposit in and mark that booking.
Yeah. I definitely offer discounts for last minute weddings.
Yeah.
Some of them like larger than others, but I've definitely done weddings at, a few £100 off because it's been last minute or it's been one I've really wanted. But yeah, there's probably 2 of those this year that I've done, and the rest of them, like I say, for next year, this is what I've put in my notes, that I feel like I'm having to be more flexible. Like if it is 2.5 hours away, perhaps before, because I felt like I had more control over my bookings, I would be like, well, that's the hotel then. Yeah. But now I'll be like, well, I'll just take the hotel fee.
Yeah, am I going to lose the bookings for sake of spending 50 quid on a Premier Inn?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's about that being slightly more flexible. For me, like I'm not too, like I'm quite confident to put my prices up by another 100, 200 or whatever, but I'm less confident in, if someone asks me, is there travel costs included? I'll be like, okay.
I think that's maybe that's the bigger less then. It's, like I say, I definitely feel more confident in my work that I'm worth more to charge that extra, but it's the way that that's dressed up. Is I'm still feeling though that it needs to be justified. When I change my pricing, it's going to be, okay, well, this X amount of film is included, or I'm willing to now do, say, 100 miles from home rather than 75 included. Yeah. So that if people are checking and checking back, which I know they don't, but I still feel in my own thing that I've justified the price increase, not just inflation in it. It's very much this is why I'm charging more. It's not just because I can. It's very much because it's needed.
And the thing is, it's competition at the end of the day in our industry. Like there will be someone who's 500 quid cheaper than you that's willing to travel without the travel fee or add film on for free because they're enjoying it, or they don't necessarily need that bit of money or whatever it is. Like a lot of the time, there'll be someone who's willing to do it. Yeah. So if you're not willing to be a little bit flexible, then some people are going to go elsewhere, and that's just how it's going to happen.
And I mean, some couples, again, if they're, we're naive to think that, though we spent a chunk of this episode saying that kind of we do or felt that we've done a better job than ever of expelling our personalities and people booking us as much as our businesses. There are some people that just don't want to book a person or make a new friend. They just want a wedding film or just want a set of photos. And I think that's okay, but it doesn't have to be okay for you. It's, you can still hang on for those couples that do want you know, the whole works, or it's not wrong for you wanting it to be like that, but just be aware that, you know, or don't get too glum if you don't get that booking due to a couple of £100, then you need to kind of really go, then they weren't my people anyway.
I mean, that's actually quite important, isn't it? Is in us being like, I'd say we're both relatively unique, as there's only so much you can be unique in our industries, but we're both relatively unique. And so I'm in a situation where a lot of people that booked me have booked me because it's me. And like, I could have been like, some couples have waited a month to have a call with me because they're like, oh, I'm going on holiday, and I know you're on holiday the week after.
But they pretty much know it's you anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So but they know they're going to book anyway. They're happy to wait.
Yeah.
But for the majority of the industry, that's not going to happen. You're going to need to, you know.
Yeah, and if you are more middle of the road or more matter of fact, you are going to have to hustle. I think that's not a shame. Or you make that decision to kind of step out and be a bit bolder, and hope that then that will, you know, people will pick up on that as it goes. And I think kind of in talking about that kind of, you know, looking around at what else is about, I think we, you know, as a podcast, kind of our businesses aside, we obviously made some goals for the podcast, didn't we, this year? And, you know, knowing that I think marginally more podcasts came about last year, and even at the start of this year, that we were probably, you know, we were diluted a lot, I think, by the offerings that were around. We changed days this year.
We did,
because of so many coming out on a Thursday now. And I feel that's positive. That's been positive for us. I've felt that a Monday is just a better day for me to release. I feel like it feels nicer to have it at the start of the week.
And it also happened to coincide with the commune only releasing once every 2 weeks.
So that we kind of fall into a nice groove with them now. And again, I would never want to compare and say that we're as good as those guys, but we offer kind of something quite as kind of informal as they do. So I think to kind of give people a Monday fix every other week. And again, we haven't spoken to them about it. It's just kind of the way that it fell. We've done it now that you kind of get, you know, Coder and TW and the other stuff on a Thursday. It all kind of falls out that way. I feel like it's been a funny one this year. Like, we maybe at the start of the year had some quite heady goals for, I think, what we thought the podcast could have been, or what we thought we wanted. I think that's probably a much better thing. Is that, you know, maybe we had ideas of looking at other podcasts that are taking on sponsors and maybe start to monetize a bit and going, oh, well, we've been around for a while, we should maybe want that. But I think that then that comes with its degree of pushing on, expectation, meeting stats, meeting numbers, asking for this. And in the end, I think it's fallen into its natural groove of this podcast has continued because it is exactly what it is, not exactly what we want it to be.
There's that ideal, isn't there, that others start rocking up. Then they're like, you know, they're posting reels every week, they're getting sponsors, they're making this amount of money and putting on these events and whatever. And then you start to think, oh, we've got a platform, maybe we should use it for that as well. But
or we're falling behind if we don't.
But sometimes what you think you should do doesn't quite work out. And the more, you know, we started making a plan in like February, March, okay, we're going to get this, we're going to do this. And the more we started implementing those things, the more it felt like work. At least that's what I think. And like, this is purely a passion project. Like, I love doing this because it is minimal work and maximum like job satisfaction in a way.
I do it
like,
for pretty selfish reasons. Out with
the
fact that
one of my best mates for a day, and you know, and we get to just chat the world to rights on the podcast, off the podcast, what about work, about personal stuff, like. And at home, all I have to do is go and quickly edit it, put it together, whack it online, and that is. And then people message us and say, oh, I love how, you know, open you guys are and stuff like that. And that's just how I love it.
Yeah, and I would never want that to have to change. That said, I am still hugely proud that obviously we formed our partnership with Serge and team over at Bride and Groom this year. And I think I'm really happy that we do have that. I think that's something which has kind of blossomed. The fact that it blossomed out of an in-person meet at the summit as well. So it was never something where we just started firing out emails to companies. That was very much an organic thing which started over a beer in a pub. They reached out, we come together on that. And we're not looking to get rid of them anytime. And I still urge that you do, you know, if you are drowning in edits, go and look at Bride and Groom. But at the same time, we're not about to become one of those podcasts, or, you know, that we never wanted to be one of those podcasts where you stop for 3 ad breaks in the middle and we have dedicated pre-scripted things. Like, I think that we've really kind of, you know, time and us being busy of our own jobs has let other bits of what we thought we wanted fall by the wayside. But I'm so glad that the pod has actually stayed exactly what it is, and hopefully that it is maybe a welcome difference to some of the other podcasts that you listen to here that do stop for ad breaks or do have more structures. The fact that you can sit us on and you know that you're in for a couple of hours of solid ramble, but there might be some gold in there. We're great. I'm grateful that it has stayed that. I think it's. I didn't want it to become a job. I wanted it to stay fun.
Yeah, and it has longevity in the way it is for us.
Yeah.
Me and you both, it is exactly where we want it now, I think.
Yeah.
And because of that, it has longevity. There's not one part of me that goes, dreads, I've got to do that now, sort of thing. And if we want to take a week off because we're both busy, we just do it.
Yeah.
We don't, have to like squeeze it in
at
midnight
got to meet
because
certain
we've got,
numbers, or we have certain ads to fulfill, or we've got, we've promised someone else in order to keep them paying us that we have to do this. It's very much stayed on our terms, but that's the reason we set it out to be fortnightly, and the reason pretty much I think we've only dropped a couple of weeks this year.
Yeah.
Even through everything that has happened, we have managed to hold our own. I am really proud that is something that we've kept up with.
Yeah.
And I also feel like I put in my notes that I feel that the pod has slightly evolved this year. That we hit our 50th episode. That one with the voice notes I think will go down what will take a lot of beating to be.
Yeah, I love that. So good.
The fact that we've always wanted this to be based around community, and that so many of you messaged in and gave us voice notes, that was really, really kind of heartwarming stuff, and really lovely to kind of see that these conversations do transcend.
Yeah.
And I feel that, within those first 50 episodes, there was a lot of, here's how we film a speeches, here's how we film a ceremony, here's what we do at sunset.
It got formal at times, didn't it? Yeah.
Or it became very much kind of like, we don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
We told you how we did it. And I think there's people at the beginning that learned from that, where I feel like this year we have allowed some much deeper conversations to happen on the pod.
Yeah.
Things that maybe, say, are stretched out a bit more rambly, or you need to kind of dig for it a bit more. But I think that there's been a lot more kind of meaningful conversations around that inquiry conversation. The baby conversation that we have with Katie.
Yeah.
There's been a lot more stuff in there, which is kind of the real chat, rather than us kind of sitting on a, kind of preaching out as to how you should do things.
Yeah.
It's just kind of us offering our point of view.
Yeah. Sometimes when we sit down to do an episode, we're like, oh, should we do a bit more of an educational one this time? Or like, and by educational, we mean talked about how we do things.
Yeah.
And like little tidbits and that. But most of the time we have a topic to talk about, which is a bit more just like conversational, don't we? And that's, I think, where we thrive a little bit. So is, what people are talking about right now. Okay, let's talk about that and just openly talk about. We have notes, but we openly talk about it and just
very much so. Like rather than Philip here reading the news of what's been on in the groups this week, it's kind of taking that and then how we've kind of dealt with it as well. That said, though, I do feel that I've kind of missed. Obviously, we did 2 workshops last year. That, whilst that did come with its share of work to get them going, I found them hugely rewarding. And again, nothing is booked. We've not had a conversation about this yet, but I would like to say that in my kind of loose podcast goals for next year, I would like us to at least do an event, a live episode, a workshop, something which involves, rather than it just kind of you voice noting us, somewhere where we could get together in a room and have those conversations, however that looks or however it needs to be.
We've got a platform, so let's use it. And we don't want to make it work, so it won't be like something huge like a summit or whatever, but it's going to be but I do definitely agree
just something
with you.
Very much on that feels very
to bring that community together and just even if it's literally just like we're all just having a drink at the Cozy Club while we record an episode. It's just
something like that. I think I would like to say that is one of the things that I've kind of missed this year, that we've not done anything, whilst we have more guests than ever, and that kind of number of guests that we've had once every sort of 3 or 4 episodes to have someone on, that's fallen into a really nice pattern. I would like us to do like an actual event.
Definitely. I agree with you on that.
So I guess as we move into kind of the last kind of bits of it, then maybe we should talk through our highs and lows. We're doing lows and highs. If we start with the bad bits first, then we can finish. I
always like to start with the bad stuff first.
Yeah, let's do that
because then you can end it on a high. Do you want to go
first?
Okay. So one of my lows, I don't talk about this a lot on the pod, but it has been probably one of the toughest years personally for me. I lost my granddad. I've been going through a lot of mental health issues and struggles. The enjoying my work has definitely pulled me through all of that. But it's been a lot with that happening, obviously the pregnancy and the birth and life changing and things like that. So it's, personally, I've had probably one of the toughest years of my life, and that's probably a low. But to make some light out of that, I think it's not because I don't have a job that I dread going to as well. That work has definitely been like my guiding light this year. So
and it's nice to have those silver linings in that, isn't it? But at the same time, I think it is important to recognise that not everybody's happy all the time. And unfortunately, new life comes into this world, and old life does pass out of this world. And I think we've definitely all felt that this year. That there's kind of been that stuff happening, and as much as we try to be honest as we can, to say that you have had a tough year. I don't think is not a lie at all. It is a point that you need to kind of needs to be addressed. That whilst it can appear on socials that you're out running with champagne bottles through fields and people at sunset and living the absolute high life, there are still times at home that feel very different to that.
But you kind of have to just again in self-employed life, you kind of have to just deal with it. Like my granddad died and I did a triple wedding, the triple wedding like the day afterwards, and then I did the same thing after the funeral as well. So very much like all of that stuff happens with life, doesn't it? And like, you know, things are improving, and I'm sure next year will be different and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's just one of my lows of the year. It's when I look back,
less people dying.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Would be a good thing. But I think it's worth addressing in lows. And I feel that I've touched on this before, but after that is, despite that doing less weddings and less work, I still feel that I am working too much or spending too long at my desk. The processes that I had gained through my mentoring has definitely helped me a lot, but I still think that's a hurdle that I need to overcome, is that I still feel like I should be working these hours. Because I've always worked those hours or gone back, I still kind of do find it hard to go, well, no, you can just take a couple of hours to yourself now, or you need to do this. I always felt that if I don't do that, I'm not doing enough, or... Like, I think I've done the first bit of kind of building the system so that I have more time. Yeah. But then I think that's led to a lot of kind of personal guilt of still feeling like I should be doing more. Yeah. Or again, if you open your phone, there's always someone doing more than you, or posting more, or seeming to do more. And that, I think, has been a low for me, is that I have enjoyed probably the physical freedom of building those systems, but the mental freedom of feeling that I'm not enough or doing enough has still weighed on me at times.
You still have to give yourself a break, like stop putting those expectations on yourself. Because,
100%.
Yeah. And I agree. I've put work-life balance has been skewed towards work this year. Maybe again, maybe my bias is on the second half of the year, because again, like the first half of the year probably wasn't that, but. Yeah, I've put that as well, and I think it just comes with being self-employed. Yeah, there's a lot of that, and I don't think you ask us another 10 years, we'll probably be saying the same or similar things. But I don't think there's a point where, because we're people who work hard and enjoy what we do, where it's going to come to lunchtime, we're going to be like, oh, you know, wife doesn't get home for a few hours, might just sit and watch it. It's like. Sit and be a couch potato for 3 hours. Yeah, I don't think either of us would find that. I don't have that in my nature. Like, I just barely watch telly in the evenings, let alone taking an afternoon off because a new season of something's come out. Yeah, that's just not me. But that said, I think that is one of the things that I've put kind of in my goals as well as kind of my lows, is that I kind of had a realization that whilst I'm really proud that I've made it kind of 10 years of running this business and, you know, kind of moving towards that, I do feel that over the years, because I enjoy my work so much, other things have fallen by the wayside. In order to get my business to where it has meant sometimes that, not necessarily socially and with Row or whatever, but just having a hobby or doing something for myself. Because this started out as my hobby and then to become my job and all of those things, I almost feel like I need to find something now which excites me enough to go, oh yeah, that takes you away. If I could take a couple of hours off to just go and do that, and the lure of that's exciting enough, or more exciting than photography, because that's always been my biggest kind of sense of excitement. Even now, sometimes it's very much, oh, well, I just got to take pictures for me, and I still do that, and I still love that, but it still ends up being then chained to my desk or still holding a camera. Like, I feel like that's been a low this year, is that if you look at it kind of in those times where you are doubting yourself, it's like, it's actually quite sad that that's what my life has just become, is that I walk my dog, I see my wife, and I literally all I do is photography. Yeah. Like, there needs to be something else. You need to do something that's good enough to drag you out from. Yeah. And that's when I found paddle, what that was really is, you know, I booked it in the middle of the work day and I then went to it, and that was enough to get me like, okay, I'm excited to go do this. It's not something that I'm not just taking time off to go watch TV or whatever it is, just some pointless activity. The health benefits are a side product of the enjoyment of... Yeah, exactly, and those kind of things. And I feel like we both have put that we'd quite like to pick things back up like that again. Yeah. I've dropped paddle for a while just because of baby and because of it got really, really expensive and hard to do and things like that. So, but I do want to find something similar that I can go and work on and, like you say, take us out of that. But the last thing I put is that I didn't apply for any awards this year, and this, it kind of feels weird to have, after talking about all that validation that I've got from, you know, coming highly commended in the Twitter last year, to not do it has felt a bit like empty. Like, now I've got now that self motivation, I know that I'm doing well, has got to carry me for the next year. Yes. But also I like the whole like community of it and doing the events and things like that, and I've really missed it this year. But for my own headspace and just with everything that's happened this year, I just wanted to focus on, like, you know, that the headspace of, oh, I've got awards coming up, I've got to fill this out, I've got to go to the event. Like now I'm nervous about it. Am I gonna win? If I don't win, how am I gonna feel? All of this stuff. Just didn't need it.
Especially where you've done it for the last 3 years. So that I found it, obviously I only entered last year, didn't win, didn't enter again this year. I very much felt last year like it was like a bubble, and you were kind of once you'd entered and you were in the final, you were in that club of seeing everyone. Like I saw a lot more of the Twitter stuff, or felt a lot more involved in seeing what the other winners from the other regions were doing, or who was winning, or what was going on, because I was kind of in that and had an interest in it. Where this year, I kind of saw the purple screen, the pink screen pop up on my socials, and might go, when it was the Southeast one, oh, look at one photo and video. And again, shout out to Martin, Martin Bell, he's a pal of the podcast, isn't he?
Yeah.
He won photo for South Central, and obviously we'll go on to the Nationals.
Yeah.
And so I kind of saw that, but I didn't feel that I was kind of as invested in it this year because I didn't enter.
She didn't enter. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Should we get into highs then now?
Yes.
Let's end it on a high. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has probably been stuff that's been said. I really feel like I've walked the walk this year, that I to stand there at the start and go, I'm only going to do 30 weddings, no matter, I need to try if this is the balance. And I did less than that, and I've been okay. And I also really feel that I've found my groove at those weddings this year. I found people that really want my style. I've been myself at those weddings, and people have loved me for it.
Yeah.
That I think is a great feeling and a definite high,
that
even after this time, I can still be more of myself, and people like that.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much exactly the same for me. Like I feel like that's why, again, we've mentioned it before, but that's why I've had the best year I've had in weddings, because of that same reason, to be honest. And I also feel like, even though I've ditched some other things, and last year I put in my notes that my income had definitely gone down since getting rid of corporate and YouTube stuff. Now I feel like it's catching back up again because of how much I'm charging and things like that. I'm not having to do extra work for it. So that's been a really positive as well this year, that I've seen that sort of like balance start to come back.
Yeah, the growth in the weddings has kind of filled that void. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I think, again, the biggest one for me, which I feel like I've spoken about enough, is buying that extra film camera and making that dedicated effort to shoot film at all of my weddings. I've really enjoyed the learning process of getting my negatives back, seeing what I've shot, even just figuring out how you kind of space film. Going, okay, if I've got 2 rolls, that 36 needs to get me to roughly here. I need to change ISO because it's getting dark. Like it's made me kind of think about photography in a much more kind of level way, or an exciting way again, rather than just, I'll just do my job, turn up, same digital, same whatever. Yeah. It's kind of that, and doing that's made me a lot more excitement for my job, and I feel that's only enhanced the style that I've come to love.
Yeah.
So it's been a bumper episode, don't you? When there's probably been a momentary lapse on the YouTube because we've run out of battery. But again, it's always our longest episode of the year, isn't it? Really. Yeah. So it's good. And also, we were just getting to the good bit as well. We're getting into all the fun highs, and then that's it. So I think for me, finding film photography and the thing that's given me, and I'm only excited to expand that more into next year for sure.
Yeah, and the fact that you've taken your film cameras on holidays just shows that that is a passion project as well. That film,
100%,
even in weddings, is a passion project for you. So
yes.
I shot another destination wedding. I'm quite happy with that. Like, we spoke about it a little bit on the last 2 episodes ago. But shot a wedding in Spain. Really enjoyed it. I felt like I was much more in a flow of it this year, and kind of knew what I was doing a bit more than perhaps the one last year. I got another 1 or 2 booked in for next year.
That's what I was going to say. And the fact you have more for next year. So that goal that you started in probably our very first end of year review, that you wanted to dip your toe into the destination market and shoot 2 to 3 a year, that is starting to come.
That is coming. Yeah. And I still think that is the ultimate thing for me, is like, if I can do 2 a year, I'll be quite happy. 3 will be okay, but I just think that in terms of like logistics, I'd much rather do a couple more at home and go on holiday with my wife than keep going away on my own. Do you know what I mean? And that's just the way I look at it.
When obviously the one you just did, although it was delightful to spend 3 nights in an Airbnb with Adam, like it is those things that essentially you are still working, so there's got to be a financial reward for doing it. Or also, if you can start to take those in months of the year where the weather's not so great here, like you do a pretty good job of cleaning up in the summer here as it is, to then trying to add some travel out of the country to what is already a busy month. You can see that the appeal of that is not there as much, is it? If there's not
that would be nice, but one of mine is in mid-July next year. So
oh well, so there you go. So you've already done it already.
But
yeah.
But yeah, so I'm quite happy with that. It went really well, so that was definitely a high from the year for me.
And I think, so the last thing that I've got in my highs that I want to touch on is, and I have said it before, is that every booking goal that I've set myself this year, I have hit. Yeah. And I feel like I am in a much better place going into next year, confidence-wise, about what I shoot, what I am and what I'm charging, and also for the amount of bookings that I have in. I've said probably in other episodes, I wanted to, there's certain venues that maybe I feel that I've clung to or have kind of been staples of mine. I'm slowly starting to move away from some of those. Yeah. And you can see that price increase I did 2 or 3 years ago, or the one that's coming, has started to push me into maybe slightly different venues, or venues that are very much more me, or weddings that I can do that. And for a year of uncertainty to still been able to book consistently, I've taken that as a real high or a real win this year.
As people see that variety in your work, you'll start to see different venues popping up. And then the more you do those, the more you'll get those ones, and also like the reliance on some of the ones that you probably do all the time.
I think that's a lot of it as well. Like we've said, didn't we, with venues kind of going, oh well, they're struggling or whatever. Yeah. I've never wanted my business to always rely on somebody else's success. Yeah. So in order to, I've tried to, and again, to try to feel that you show more variety, or you've started to not only be known as I only shoot, most of my weddings are at these 3 venues with some others. I've kind of actively in the work that I've shared, tried to kind of open some new branches of inquiry. If I've gone to new places that I've loved, I've tried to push that, and that has reflected in what's coming for next year. So I think in terms of high, it's nice to know that the work that you put in does work.
Yes. Yeah. I'm pretty much the same. I don't have booking goals as such, but I do have a spreadsheet that keeps track of how many bookings I've got, how many I had by this time last year, and also the average spend. And for me, my target is, as long as that goes up, as in terms of, it doesn't have to be more bookings than I had this time last year, but as long as the average spend goes up and I'm at roughly 2/3 booked by the end of the year, then I'm quite happy. And I'm already 2/3 booked as we talk in the beginning of December.
Same as it. I'm sat here at the moment saying with that 30, I have 22 in the book. Yeah, nice. So that's in a really, if anything, it could have been 1 or 2 less. There are a couple of half days in there, but for the most part, I am actually only chasing pretty much 8 bookings throughout the course of the whole year. I want to finish on 30. So if I picked up 3 or 4 in January, I know there's always going to be some smaller ones that are going to come much more short notice than that. Yeah. So again, going into the year, and also selfishly, if I took nothing else, I wouldn't starve. Yeah. And I think that's a really good place to start to kind of book with a bit more confidence. Then when you're taking calls, you're not taking bookings out of desperation or to cover essentials. That those ones are kind of the gravy, if you like, where I know that my absolute kind of, like I've got another year in this job of paying my mortgage and the things that I've got.
And that confidence, I mean, the next 10 will be like fully you and the weddings that you want to do.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure. So again, now we've kind of done those. I guess now that we should kind of move into the last final bit, which are our goals for next year. Like, what do we want to achieve as we sit here next year?
Yeah, so mine are quite boring this year, and it might be because I'm still in the midst of things. My edit pile was quite huge. Again, like as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, I normally think about the year ahead once my edit pile is complete or almost complete. So I haven't really thought a lot into it. But honestly, just like for the next year, while Kate is on maternity and that kind of stuff, I just want to be the best husband I can be, the best dad I can be. And that is going to be my main focus for the year. I'm not going to pick up anything crazy. I'm going to try and make workflows simpler. And mainly just get into a routine with baby, to be honest. Yeah. I know, again, that sounds really boring and not like I'm
I don't think that's a boring goal at all. I think that it's so easy to throw yourself into work and neglect other things, but you will never know that until it's too late. Yeah. But just to sit here and go, okay, I've built this business to a point that I can afford to take my foot a little bit off the pedal.
Just let it cook for a year.
In order to be the best husband and dad as I embark on, kind of fatherhood really, as, into a new year of you starting a new year as a dad. I think that's a boring goal at all. And I think to sit here at the end of the year and, hopefully with a big smile on your face going that, I've not missed out on any of those big moments, as well as keeping a business which I solely run afloat. I think that would be, hopefully you will feel the much more of an achievement of that rather than, I booked an extra and made a few extra $1,000.
And should we go into nursery like this time next year anyway, like for a few days a week, and that's when I can start getting back into like, okay, I have this amount of hours to go hard into work and that kind of stuff. And that's, that's a significant amount of portion of the week that both me and Kate will get back, and things will change again. But I just know that's going to be my main task for the year. And again, we've mentioned it, but picking up those hobbies,
yes,
is something that I want to do more of. I picked up paddle, and again, I've dropped it because of finances and because it got harder to book the courts and things like that. I want to find something similar, something that gets me motivated, gets me out, but also it doesn't necessarily have to be outside as well, I think, is the main thing. Because I'm at home a lot more because of a baby and things like that, I don't want to necessarily just be like, I'm finished with work now, see you later, Kate, I'm off out to do this.
Yeah, something which can take you mentally away from work, but not physically out. Like you say, you don't, or reliant on other people. And I with paddle, a lot of it's been, I'm in a partnership with this guy and he's only free then. So something which is quite self-motivating. I think that's why other years, and I don't run as much as I used to, but I do still run, is I like the fact that I can just pull my shoes on,
just go and do it.
And go whenever. If I've got half an hour, I run for half an hour. I've got an hour, I can run further. And it's very much on your terms. But the problem of that is very self-motivating. Yeah. And that kind of leads into my goal, is that I've said it a couple of times, I want to implement some structure and discipline into my working days so that there is time left to go, do you know what, I can take a long lunch today so I can go and do this. Or no, you can finish early, because that needs to happen. And almost try and book in time off as much as I book my other appointments. I think that's the only way that I'm actually going to get that time, is to really put stuff in. I don't miss appointments in my diary. Yeah. And so whether it means I have to physically book a class to go to.
That's what I was going to say. Like, that's what paddle was good, because you book a time and then you can't back out within 24 hours.
Yeah, or find, a running buddy or something that you do kind of book it in. It doesn't be the same time every week or whatever, but just something to kind of give me that structure.
It's in the calendar.
Yeah, it's very much that time's counted for. Yeah. That's something which I think is, I've done the hard bit of making the systems work for me. I now need to find a way to reap the benefit of that.
100%.
And I think going forward on that as well, is I've also, with kind of finding film again, and just kind of that, I've also felt like I wanted to do a project for me. Yeah. Like going and taking the film cameras to Disney World was, I waited for those negs probably more excitedly than maybe some of my wedding negatives this year. So kind of harnessing that, or I've already started to see, like, I've never really been a person that's been interested in taking landscapes and stuff, but even a couple of times this year, I'm like, do you know what, just to go out on a walk and take my tripod. Like that was something which I think that would give me kind of a lot of peace. And so that's something that maybe I would like to kind of explore, or maybe it's a nice segue because I'd feel less guilty about turning away from my desk because I'm still doing something like photography-ish. Yeah. But the idea of having like a piece of work which stands, it's not for a client, it's not for anyone, it's literally just for me. I feel over the last couple of years I've lost that. Yeah. So to bring back to literally do something which is purely a passion or personal project, to sit here with a body of work at the end of the year, which is entirely self-motivated, that would be something I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. And also some of that will leak into your work as well. So
I hope so.
Like,
yeah.
Like,
they will feed each other.
The same way that film photography has started as maybe something that you can do for weddings, but then probably extended beyond that to like something you enjoy and you'd probably go out and do on your own.
I hope so. Yeah, that's the plan. Again, anything that kind of, I do still want to work. Yeah. I just don't want to be at my desk every evening or be that I feel like I'm chained to it all the time, particularly if I don't need to be. Yeah. That's the kind of the main thing. Yeah.
On hobbies though, I've always felt, at least for the last few years, that when I look at my sort of years as a whole, like I'll probably be on holiday for a month of the year. For a month of the 12, I'll probably be on holiday. And when you ask me what I've done in those other 11 months, it's probably mostly work, go cinema, a few meals out, and those little things like that. And so it's a case of like, when I actually look at it, like going on a holiday for a month of a year is a really privileged position to be in. Is that my hobby? Probably yes.
Yeah, travel.
Travel and that stuff. But it's then finding those things that can bring you away from work in the day-to-day life.
I think, or having, say, some sort of like landmark of that as well. And not everything has to be for something, but it's easier to quantify, isn't it? And that's why I think some of that personal projects there is that if I can look at the end of the year and go, okay, I've done this, I've got this to show for it. Or like you said, I've got a shiny paddle because I won a paddle tournament, or I've done this. You kind of feel there's some level of there, and like pulling my Strava out and going, I've managed to get this. I don't, although it is an achievement, I don't feel the same achievement in that. Like I need to something I can go, this is what I've done with my time. And so having that is there, or like say with paddle or whatever, it's the same. And I think kind of moving into it as well, and I haven't spoken to Katie about this yet, so if she listens to this and wants to pick up the phone, she can, but we didn't do anything at the Coactive this year. And lots of people asked me, when's it coming back? And the answer was, I don't know. It was never something we intended to take this long away from. It just kind of happened that way. And it's something that I would very much like to get back to in some capacity. We see each other weekly, which I love. I haven't ended up seeing Katie as much as I've wanted to this year, and other suppliers. I've worked with videographers at weddings or seen other people and they're going, oh, well, when's it coming back? I really love just seeing everybody every few weeks and meeting up for a coffee. And because I haven't organised it, nobody else has really filled that gap to do that either. So I think that that's something which, even if it ends up just being once every other month, you know, an hour in a Starbucks or something, that's definitely something which I want to kind of bring back. Not that it takes up loads more of my time again, because I've enjoyed the balance of not having something else to kind of market and work at, but I want the good bits back of actually seeing other suppliers and having those chats across a much kind of wider basis.
That's it. You can kind of feel thankless because you turn up and you just do your thing and chat to everyone and go home. But now it's not happening. I look back to it and think, you know, I made close friends through the Coactive and definitely now know a lot more people in our circles and industry and that through that. And like it was beneficial to everybody, pretty much. Not accept you, but there was definitely more of a balance for you.
Yes.
It was beneficial,
or maybe I
also
underestimated how much I would miss it when it wasn't there, or also how much other people did miss it, or there was a need for it. So I think to kind of bring that back in kind of the community kind of gains that it did bring, I would like that to come back, but not in a way that it kind of would a detriment, or to the point where it would feel like a chore to kind of market ticketed events and stuff. But to kind of just bring back those coffee mornings fairly low kind of thing, I think that would be the best of both worlds for everybody, I think. So that's something which I would like to very much kind of get back off the ground again. And
the last thing I put was about adding a half-day package. We spoke about this. I'm not sure we spoke about it on the pod. We definitely spoke about it off, but about how, you know, these weddings may be getting shorter and it's an opportunity to like slot things in between other weddings, have a bit less workload because there'll be shorter films and that kind of thing. It's something that I want to offer and see how it goes. For the last 6-7 months I've had a package on my website which is basically just the basics. You get a 2 to 3 minute film, then you can add a la carte what you want. 0 people have gone for it, so there's not a market for me to have a budget option for a full day. So I'm going to try and change that to a half day option instead.
I think it'd be interesting to see it, or a really interesting experiment to see if anyone does pick up on it, to know that in the end the level of whether videography mainly only works on the full day, or there are some people having really short elopement micro wedding style things that still want that level of kind of precision or kind of grandeur to their film. They're just not having a day that the moment they can't see what they need on your website, so they are just wandering on by. That whether if you start to offer that, there is a need that you don't know. It'd be interesting to see. I think it was in our trends episode, because I do think that a lot of shorter weddings, or people like you say doing the town hall and then the restaurant, are going to become a lot more common next year, rather than big full day celebrations. And in order for you to kind of make the most of some of that market, I think to have the option there, and also I think it will set you apart from other videographers, because I don't see many others.
No, I don't.
Almost they're being forced into the hands of content.
Maybe there's a reason. Maybe these people don't want video.
But again, you've got to try to find out, haven't you? I think so.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a really kind of interesting thing to see, knowing that it's something that I had to kind of, coming out of COVID, I used to offer a 2-hour and a 4-hour option. I've since lost the 2-hour because it doesn't make sense. But that kind of 4 to 5 half-day package has to serve me pretty well, particularly in filling gaps, because a lot of them are midweeks as well. So if you can kind of bolster my income with kind of shorter jobs like that. And I think also as well, again, for some of my styles, some of my couples aren't having longer days rather than being full day or nothing. I think it'd be nice to sit here in a year's time to see how that has fared for you, or how much it did kind of round out your calendar. I'm definitely going to change around my packages soon, because I'm offering a bit too much in the higher package, even though my average booking is getting higher. There's now I'm always conscious of, it's not always about raising price for me. Sometimes it's about lowering the workload of what you offer, or even getting people in at the normal package. And then you probably find, and I found this, is people booking and then nearer the wedding or after the wedding they're adding the album, or when they've got into those last weeks, actually can we add this on? So maybe for you it's about getting the book in and then almost having a little bit of sales, or realising people could have more in the lead up, and if it's there, if they want to add it, rather than having almost kind of sell the earth in a big package, which seems daunting when they're trying to book lots of other things at the same time.
Most people this year have gone for, a lot of people have gone for a lower package and then upgraded. But then I'm also getting a lot of the keepsake edits with the uncut footage, which is great. But when you're like middle of wedding season, editing lots of trailers and trying to get them out, and someone's going, where's my uncut footage? So I've got to figure out a way of doing that that's not going to interfere with that. Maybe I backload them so that all of the uncut stuff gets done at like February, March.
You promised the lead time on that is a lot longer, because they've almost got big bit. That's just kind of
Yeah.
added bonus, which comes later then. Yeah, I think that's really sensible. And I think the last thing to finish, which kind of will lean into kind of us wrapping up the episode, is I just want more of the same.
Yeah.
I really feel like, again, that we said, finding our stride, finding my number, and all of that this year, that's something which I'm hopefully is kind of set a new precedent in my business, which will stay for a good few years. And so it's quite nice to know that even though we are a bunch of time in, you're still kind of on the eve of something kind of like a new era kind of thing. I think to kind of carry the lessons that I've learned this year or the things that I've done, which I've really kind of felt benefits from, I want to kind of keep that in the front of my mind when I make decisions about my business next year.
Yeah, if you have another year like this year with a little bit of progress, then it's a win, basically.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think little and often, rather than having huge kind of seismic years of growth and then quiet years, I think slow and steady definitely wins the race, and that's what something I want to continue with.
Completely agree. Yeah.
Stuff.
Well, it has been a big episode.
Yeah, it has, hasn't it?
And we love this one, and it definitely is becoming a staple of the pod. So we always knew it was going to be a long episode, and we kind of planned for it. But I hope you guys have taken something from it. I know it's very personal to us, but also I don't know, it's nice to hear, I think, how other people are perceiving how the year went. It's also nice to get sort of inspiration to go through it yourself and look into the mirror a little bit and say, how have I done this year? What can I do better next year? That kind of thing. And again, like I don't know what this is going to be like to listen to, because it's very personal to me and you.
Yeah.
But hopefully it has helped.
So whilst we've done this for purely selfish reasons, I do think there is a lot of power in looking back. It's too easy to kind of be sat at the end of a year going, well, how booked am I for next year? Or should I open my 2027 book yet? Or have I got enough bookings for 2027? Which is wild. Yeah. Just do kind of sit there and even just open the page of a notebook or open a note on your phone. Just put together 3 or 4 goals for next year. They don't have to be huge things. They don't have to be tied to money or to bookings even. It's just, what would I want to implement next year, which is going to make this job more enjoyable, more fun, or give me more balance?
Yeah.
And look back at the years and go, what have been the biggest takeaways this year? What have been the biggest breakthroughs?
Yeah.
Because you might surprise yourself. Like, we wrote notes for this last night and have already kind of realised patterns that we didn't realise were there just by talking about it. If you want to vent it out and drop a voice note to us so we can hold you accountable for what your goals are, that's something which I would love to hear what everybody else is up to or what their plans for next year are.
It's so easy to forget how far you've come as well.
Yes.
Like we're lucky that we can now look back at our notes for the episodes last year, the year before. But even in that time, just seeing how far we've come is just makes me feel good at the end of the year.
And maybe it's been your first year. And I think, in those years, to even just get through your first season, make people happy, tidy up your head, that's a huge achievement.
Yeah.
Again, like we did the last episode on being self-employed. Maybe next year spells your first year as a full-time photographer or videographer, and that alone as well is really, really exciting. And don't get caught up in that industry noise. You don't have to be everything in that first year. Like, we're here still trying to figure things out. Nearly a decade in, and so use things like this to kind of really, as kind of bookmarks in your journey and learn those lessons. Yeah,
to skip the bit where you sort of have to learn on the job and listen to as many of these things as you can just to figure yourself out so that you can progress quicker.
And I also think that we can learn as much from new people in this industry, as much as hopefully you're sat there listening to us. And if you've stuck with us for the last near 2 hours, like, I really thank you and hope that there was something useful in there that has helped you, as you go into next year or even kind of tidy up the things from this year. So with that in mind, our meal deal, is it going to be a festive meal deal?
It's going to be a caffeine-filled meal, that's for sure.
It's definitely calling us.
Is kicking
so
in.
Again, thank you not only for listening to this episode, but thank you for your support throughout all of the year and the things that you continue to do to listen to us and help this podcast grow and exist. We are grateful for you. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas for the Christmas that's just been.
Yeah, Happy New Year. I'm so tired.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next year. Yes. So we made it.
I flagged so bad.
I've got a full of
By the end of it, I wasn't listening to what you were saying. I was staring into the camera, waiting for the thanks.